You're listening to Miami Hockey on RedHawk Radio. Good evening and welcome to the Gogganizer Center in Oxford, Ohio. I'm Salzarulo, and this is your pre-show lineup. Tonight's matchup is the Miami RedHawks versus the St. Cloud Huskies. Miami's coming back home, looking to bounce back after being swept by last year's NCHC champion, Western Michigan, last week on the road. Miami's coming into this matchup with a 7-3 overall rating and a conference rating of 1-3. St. Cloud coming in with 6-6 and 1-3 for overall and conference respectively. Last time these two faced each other, St. Cloud swept Miami under the rug, winning the series. Miami is debuting their Cradle of Coaches uniforms tonight as a respect to the many coaches that have played under the Miami tenure. Bradley Walker and David Deputy are back after injury. St. Cloud's terrific trio of Austin Bernavec, Tyson Gross, and Barrett Hall are going to be dominant tonight. A bunch of draft picks are playing tonight for St. Cloud and Miami. With St. Cloud, we got Austin Bernavec for the Anaheim Ducks, Barrett Hall for the Seattle Kraken, Noel Reed for the Colorado Avalanche, and Adam Ingram for the Nashville Predators. For Miami, Kasper Naskin for the Bruins, and Vladislav Lukashevich for the Florida Panthers. If Miami wants to succeed tonight, they have to have a nice, clean game. St. Cloud is an absolute monster on the power play, winning almost 33% of the time. Coach Noreen said it best on an interview on Wednesday. You got to move your feet, keep your stick down, don't put yourself in the penalty kill. He also said that there was emphasis on faceoffs and stick handling. A bunch of Miami's penalties in the past have been stick-related, such as slashing and tripping. Miami just needs to get out of their own zone. Miami previous games have spent a lot of time in their own zone, and that allows St. Cloud to get a lot of scoring opportunities. Some players to watch tonight: Austin Bernavec of St. Cloud. He has the third most in goals per game in the NCAA, first in power play goals, and second in game-winning goals with 3. Tyson Gross, also from St. Cloud, has the fourth most face-off wins in the NCAA with 158. Now for players to watch for Miami, Mateo Giampa, 8th in game-winning goals with 2, and Coach Adelic of Miami, who was the NCHC Rookie of the Month in October. That's about all the time I have for this. Has been the pre-show lineup. I've been your host, Salzarulo. I'm handing it over in a little bit for Luke Poley and Aiden Sonas. I'm Salzarulo, and this has been the pre-show for Miami Hockey. You're listening to Miami Hockey on RedHawk Radio.
It is Cradle of Coaches weekend here inside Steve Cady Arena in Oxford, Ohio. As tonight, the Miami RedHawks look to bounce back from a sweep loss last weekend against the Western Michigan Broncos, and they return home to take on the Huskies from St. Cloud State. Alongside Aiden Sones, I'm Poley. So glad that you're with us this evening. And Aiden, Anthony Noreen made it very clear last weekend for this Miami team was not up to the standard, but it's the reality of playing in this league that there's not much time to dwell on things like that. They've got a St. Cloud State team that comes in with one of the nation's best offenses. They're going to have to be a heck of a lot better defensively than they were last week.
Yeah, Noreen after Saturday's game said a great defense is a great offense. So definitely having puck control in the offensive zone is one of the keys to winning this game.
So for the St. Cloud State Huskies, they're coming off a sweep against Minnesota Duluth. They lost both games on road ice last week up in Duluth, but also coming off a short week because they played a rare midweek game against St. Thomas. They had a bye last weekend and now have had a week and a half off before heading into this game with Miami. The Huskies have lost their last 3 games, but prior to that losing streak, their last win, a resounding one, a 5-1 thumping against the defending national champion Western Michigan Broncos that dispatched of Miami rather handedly last week. And again, this St. Cloud team, they can score as they bring in one of the nation's best goal scorers and one of the nation's best power plays as well, that's clicking at nearly 33%. It is Cradle of Coaches weekend, and unfortunately for the men's basketball team, they were not able to wear the uniforms last night, but the hockey team is. St. Cloud brought their whites, and they will wear their traditional home jerseys here on the road tonight, and Miami is in the black uniforms. They have gold, red, and white accents with a script white Miami with red piping across the front, black gloves, black helmets, black pants, and black socks with a red and gold stripe around them with white numbers on the back. Starting lineups for each team, starting with St. Cloud State. They will start with the starting 5 of Austin Bernovic, who is coming off an excellent freshman campaign, and he has continued with it into his sophomore year. 11 goals in 12 games so far. Tyson Gross centers their top line as their captain, and Barrett Hall, draft choice of the Seattle Kraken, plays on the right wing. Other co-captain is Cooper Wiley. He plays left defense, and Max Spolinski is his D partner, the RPI transfer on the right side. For Miami, it is the line that has gotten it done offensively for the RedHawks so far. Coach Adelik, Ilya Morozov, and Mateo Giampa start up front. Kyle Acoin coming back into the lineup for Miami is a welcome addition. Just 4 games for the Harvard transfer so far, who's dealt with some injury, and Michael Phelan plays alongside him as well. Let's toss it off to public address for our national anthem. Puck drop is next between Miami and St. Cloud State. You're listening to Miami Hockey on Red Hawk Radio. open fifth on the national anthem tonight as we get set for the first night of 2 here on Cradle of Coaches Weekend. The Miami RedHawks taking on the St. Cloud State Huskies. St. Cloud entering receiving votes in the polls at 6-6-0, 1-3 in the NCHC. Miami with an identical conference record. The RedHawks 7-3-0 overall, and they also received votes in the polls this past week. Our officiating crew this evening: Andrew Wilk and Andy Thackerberry are the referees. Kate Blessing and Brian Gorkoff work the lines. The Eric Frank fan club is perturbed this weekend. St. Cloud State again wearing the home white uniforms here on the road. Black gloves and pants, everything else white with black and red stripes. Miami in the black uniforms, script white Miami on the front with a white number on the back and red and gold accents. Starting goaltenders for St. Cloud State, they go with the true freshman Jan Shostak, the freshman from Minsk, Belarus, 6 foot, 185 pounds, out of the Lincoln Stars organization in the USHL, where he was the goalie of the year last season. To start his Division I career, 3-4 record, .272 goals against average, and an .899 save percentage. Still no Shika Gadjev for Miami. He's a scratch again tonight. And the RedHawks turn to Mateo Drobak once again, who started every game this season for Miami. 7-3 record, 3.19 goals against average, and a .902 save percentage for the sophomore from Oakville, Ontario. Huskies go left to right. Miami goes right to left. Kate Blessing drops the puck. We are underway here on Cradle of Coaches Weekend. A capacity crowd inside the doors here at Cady Arena, and we're glad you're with us for it. St. Cloud State dumps it into the Miami end, and it's Spolinski with a wrister from the right point that got deflected in front, but ends up wide left of the cage. Puck drags around the near side boards, where it's settled down by Miami's Kyle LeCoin. The Harvard transfer, who spent some extended time out of the lineup, skates it back to neutral ice and dumps it in as Spolinski missed a big hit on Coach Adelic, who was in the area of the puck. Miami goes to work on the forecheck as the teams begin to change. Pried off the end wall for St. Cloud State. It is sauced through the middle of the ice by Max Spolinski and not knocked out of the air. He was looking for Bernovic near neutral ice. It's down for icing 38 seconds in. Austin Bernovic, the guy to keep an eye on for St. Cloud State. Draft choice of the Anaheim Ducks, sophomore from Ham Lake, Minnesota. 11 goals in 12 games played this season. He became the first Husky in program history to lead the team in goals and points as a freshman. Offensive zone face-off on the right wing for Miami. It is won by St. Cloud, pulled back by Cooper Wiley, one of the co-captains for the Huskies, and he lifts it into the St. Cloud bench. So that allows the Huskies to change, but the face-off drops back to the same spot on the far side of the ice. 19:16 to go first period, no shots yet in the game.
One thing for Miami that they really need to work on since the last game against Western Michigan, we were talking about face-offs, winning those 50-50 battles. And looking at the stat line here, 2-0 so far. It's off to a good start for the RedHawks.
It's time to face-off, won by St. Cloud State, but a takeaway against the end wall by Smith for the RedHawks. Now Deputy drives strong out to the front of the net. He was stood up on the front post by Finn Loftus. RedHawks still with it. Shot goes intentionally wide from the right point. That was by Michael Quinn. Quinn now has it right point again. Fakes, walks down the wall, and dishes it in deep for Helgeson. Helgeson handoff. Deputy tried to play it in front, but it was knocked away before it reached him. Now Smith turns and fires. That's blocked in front. Second wrister flies wide into the right side corner. Grana Sean ran onto it for St. Cloud, and he got crunched as he pokes the puck out to neutral ice. Now the Huskies regroup, and a pass threaded through the center gets past Jack Ryman, and again goes down for icing. And the Huskies have been very disconnected heading through the neutral zone. Another missed pass there that goes all the way down, and they're called for another icing. 18:34 to go in the first period, and Miami elects to take the draw on the far side of the ice. Again, a huge crowd. There are folks standing up around the concourses that don't have seats yet. Over 2,000 student tickets were out for this game, which this arena only seats a little over 3,000. And the student section only occupies about a third of the rink, so they're in the GA section as well and standing up around the concourse. Face-off win for the RedHawks. They dump it in deep, and the big body Casper Nossen goes after it for Miami. 2-on-2 battle in the near side corner is won initially by St. Cloud State, but Doug Grimes pins his man and trips him up in the process. That was Ryman, and Grimes is called for a penalty. Or rather, they're going to get Justin Stupka in that same puck battle. So I was going to say that Grimes didn't really do much there, and that was because Stupka was further involved deeper in the corner, and he was the one who committed the penalty. Grimes was all up in the face of St. Cloud's Nolan Road in the corner for an extended period of time, but the referees break them up, and that brings St. Cloud to the first power play. And Aiden, this is where it gets tough for Miami. This St. Cloud man advantage unit, 32.7% this year.
Yeah, this is where Miami definitely needs to hold it down, just maintain puck possession for these next 2 minutes, because as we said earlier, this is their strong suit essentially.
Again, in the NCHC, this is a league that has prided itself on special teams. Miami wins the draw and clears it down the ice. St. Cloud looking to break back through the neutral zone with speed. Just a delay at the line unnecessarily by Barrett Hall as he faced his back towards the net and he backed in offside. Kind of a bizarre move there to just move his skates in before the puck and dragged a teammate offside in the process as well. So 12 seconds gone by in the power play. 18:07 to go first period, no score. Neutral ice draw on the far side. Conducted between Tyson Gross, one of 3 co-captains for this St. Cloud State team. Not 3 alternates, 3 guys wearing C's for St. Cloud. And for Miami, it's taken by Ethan Hay. The latter wins it. Phelan twists it off the far side boards, but couldn't get any elevation on the puck, so it doesn't end up all the way down. St. Cloud regrouping near their defensive blue line as Wiley plays it back. Gross driving down the center of the ice, steps left, crosses the blue line, heads into the zone. High slot, he drags and shoots. That's deflected wide. Now it's tossed back in the direction of the net front. Ethan Hay, though, guides it back to the end boards. Near side, Bradley Walker on it for Miami. Tried to chip it out of the zone, but fumbled the puck, but Wiley just poked it right back to him, and Walker wires it down the ice as the RedHawks go for changes. 47 seconds gone by in the penalty to Justin Stupka, and we have no score in the game. St. Cloud enters the zone on the right wing, but the puck is taken for Miami off a nice steal by Coach Adelic, and he ropes it down the ice. Morozov in on the forecheck with Shostak out of his net. It deflected in front to Morozov, and he spun it on goal, but Shostak had enough time to get back, and he sticks it aside. Couple of fumbles handling the puck below the goal line so far for the St. Cloud State goaltender, the true freshman and native of Belarus. 40 seconds remaining in the penalty. Miami gives it away in front of their own net, but a nice poke check by Morozov to prevent an opportunity right out in front as Noah Ernest was driving the net. St. Cloud still with it. Center point, Smolinski plays it to the far side where a one-timer is shot high and wide. That was by Josh Zinger, and it ends up in the protective netting with 21 seconds remaining on the Stupka penalty. 16:40 to go first period, and no score. Face off on the far side of the ice to the right of Mateo Drobak. Face-off stuck on the dot for a second, and then Hay pokes it to the corner and runs it down himself. Cannot clear it, though, as a bouncing puck ends up on the near side half wall where it's controlled by St. Cloud State. Ernest tries to circle around in front, but it's swept out to neutral ice where Hay races after it for Miami. He's cut off, though, to prevent a breakaway by the 2 St. Cloud State defenders that were back. Miami, though, does return to full strength as Stupka's out of the box. Huskies back into the offensive zone, but a takeaway by Lukashevich and a 3-on-1 going the other way. Deputy down the left wing. Wade shoots. It's wide off the stanchion. It pops up in the air, and it's settled down on the far side of the ice by St. Cloud. And Ashan gets it into the offensive zone, but he was all alone. Took a spill onto the ice, and that allows Miami to retake. Deputy steps in on the left side, hits the brakes at the hash marks, shovels it in deep. Now Smith throws it off the end wall where it finds McEwen on the right side boards. McEwen hands it off for Helgeson into the left circle, throws it out in front. It was right on Deputy's stick, but he couldn't fire the shot. Poked away, and now it's Smith circling the right side. Smith stops, drags, shoots. It's sticked into the left side corner boards by Shostak, and it pops up and hits the protective netting. But job well done through the opening 4.5 minutes for Miami. Still no score in the game, but a pretty emphatic penalty kill, and then you come out with your best shift of the night so far.
Yeah, you could definitely tell the mentality that Miami's doing with this. They are out physically playing the St. Cloud State Huskies right here, but you kind of notice the defenders for these Huskies, they're really big. So in order for us to outplay them, we just got to outsmart them. Getting safe, clean hits. I know that Stuka penalty really costed us there, but as long as we maintain possession, we should be fine.
Miami wins the offensive zone faceoff on the far side of the ice. At the top of the right circle, it was poked away from Ilya Morozov, and so it leaks out of the zone. A coin back in, though, for Miami, dumps it in. Morozov on it on the far side, but Giampa was a step ahead. It looked like that got a little delayed at the blue line. Giampa was offside. Morozov touches it up. See if they potentially bump this faceoff further back. Officials are going to discuss this. I don't think Miami, at least, is arguing they didn't know that there was an offside, and because of that, it's not intentional. And the face-off will be conducted at center ice, not all the way down. Brett Larson wants to know why, but he gets a pretty quick explanation from the referee, Andrew Wilk. Center ice draw conducted by Brian Gorkoff, the linesman. And Ilya Morozov, the youngest player in the country, wins it for Miami. Giampa turns his back towards the end boards and throws it into the offensive zone for Miami. Delic in on it, puts it behind the net for Morozov. Morozov shovels it into the right side corner looking for Giampa, but it hopped his stick. Now Rogers on the near side for St. Cloud. Gave it away, and it dangerously caromed out in front. But luckily, Joe Belisle, the extra skater for the Huskies, was there to guide it to a safe area. St. Cloud clears, both teams changing as the puck ends up back in Miami's zone where their defense has it. Lukashevich sends it through center, tipped up the near boards by Coach Adelic. Miami finishes out the change and goes to work on the forecheck. RedHawks with a steal, thrown into the left side circle. Lukashevich's shot was blocked. Now from the right point, a shot fake by Michael Quinn. He sends it in deep. Casper Nassen working 1 against 2. Puck pried away, but sent right down in front, and Emmons shot it high and wide. A costly giveaway. Tyson Gross, one of the captains for this team for St. Cloud, just threw that right between the hashes in front of his own net, and it found a RedHawk in front. And Emmons threw that towards the left corner, maybe caught the stick of Shostak and went high and wide. .14:20 to go, first period. We're scoreless. RedHawks win the faceoff. Sauced into the high slot, looking for Smith by Michael Quinn, but it's taken away by St. Cloud. Ernest tries to drive it into the offensive zone, but he's shut down by Quinn right as he crosses the blue line, and the RedHawks take possession. Shots on goal at one point were 3-2 Miami. Now they've changed the board and the live stats to say 5-0 RedHawks, so not sure if that's an official statistical change or not. Big hit out at center ice by Smith, and now he skates on by, and a potential mini 2-on-1. Throws it out in front, it's chipped off the post. The lights go on, the horn goes off, it's not in. Play continues, and now play stops with St. Cloud rushing up the ice. Brett Larson is furious. That was thrown in the direction of the net, and David Deputy just whacked at it. And that was a perfect area pass. Deputy chipped it towards the goal. It beat Shostak, got through him, but it looked like that clanged right off the center of the right post, did not enter the net. Officials make the announcement in arena that it is no goal, and they show the replay from the sky cam over top the net. You can see clear as day, puck did not go in. It was right off the front facing of the iron, and Brett Larson was not happy, and rightfully so. The arena lights turned off. They were flashing the red spotlights everywhere. They hit the horn as well, which caused the referees to stop play, but St. Cloud had a 2-on-2 rush going the other direction. Instead, it's a stoppage and a center ice draw with 13:45 to go in the first period. And it's still a 0-0 hockey game. Well, through it all, the faceoff is won by Miami, and it's stepped across the center red and dumped in by Nick Donato for the RedHawks. Miami has been very successful on the forecheck, and another steal. Shot from the right point goes well wide by Donato. Austin with a big hit below the goal line. Emmons applying some pressure on the St. Cloud decor. RedHawks have it. McEwen with a shot from the left side. That hit his teammate in Grimes in front of the net in his skate, and that allows St. Cloud to clear. They tried to thread a pass up ahead looking for Rosborough, but he missed it, and Miami sends it back out to neutral ice. 13:11 to go, first period. No goals yet. Rosborough tips it into the offensive zone. Just one man there for St. Cloud. That's a shot as they go for a change. Miami gives it away, though, looking for a stretch pass through the neutral zone, and Gross dumps it in and arrives at the puck first. He's pinned by a coin. Those two fighting for it in the corner, and The RedHawk comes out with it, but just dumps it up the wall. There's nothing but Huskies there. St. Cloud still with it as it's turned below the goal line, but Casper Nassen grabs possession for Miami, who reverses ice. Up the far side, turnover for the RedHawks at the hash marks. Into the left circle, a shot is blocked in front. Now Zinger from the right side goes D to D. Zinger waits, shoots through traffic. Drobak didn't see it, but the puck scoots wide and Miami chips it out. Man, both teams are not taking care of the puck right now in their defensive zones, and we've had some very quality scoring chances for a game that is still scoreless almost 8 minutes in. But neither squad has made the other team pay. St. Cloud holding below their goal line as both teams finish up their changes. Ice stretch to the near side. It's walked into the offensive zone by Adam Ingram. Played his USHL hockey here in this state with the Youngstown Phantoms. St. Cloud loses possession on the far side of the ice, and Miami tried to spring a mini 2-on-1 there, but the puck just got caught up in the skates of Ethan Hay. Delic was poking away at him like he was a St. Cloud State player, but the RedHawks end up giving it away. Dumped partway in by the Huskies and right back out by Miami's D-Corps. Puck trickles down the ice where Cooper Wiley runs back on it for St. Cloud State. He's around his net, Giampa tarping him from behind. Wiley down the left side, throws it across for Ingram. It deflects off his backhand and into the offensive zone, but he can't retain possession. Fight for it along the near side boards is won by Miami. Deputy working in a tight spot. He's crunched 1 against 2 by Smolinski. Deputy still working on it. Puck just sitting along the near wall, and it's pulled out by Helgeson for the RedHawks. He skates below the goal line, tried to chip it in front for Delic, but it was a bouncing puck. He skates it all the way back to the blue line to settle it. Now wrists one in front. It's chested down by Shostak. He had no pressure around him, but he couldn't hang on initially. He pounces on it, though, before any RedHawks arrive. Fortunately, St. Cloud clears the front of their net, and he holds on with 11:07 to go in the first period, and still no score. Shots are 6-0 in favor of Miami, but we are scoreless here from Oxford. You're listening to Miami Hockey on RedHawk Radio. .11:07 remaining, opening period. High action, high energy inside a packed Cady Arena. There's about 3-4 people deep standing around the concourse with pretty much every seat full. We've got no score. Face-off in the offensive zone for Miami. They're out shooting St. Cloud 6-0, and they've successfully killed a penalty. But the RedHawks have nothing to show for it so far other than a ring off the pipe. Helgeson had it for a moment at the face-off dot, but it was tracked down by Thorson between his legs, who dumps it into the offensive zone for St. Cloud. Miami breaks it out quickly, though, and Lukashevich has a lane down the left side. He shoots, and that's snapped out of the air by Shostak, and maybe a little too close to the net for Ryan Smith as he gets a couple of sticks to the chest from some St. Cloud State players to clear him out of the blue paint. 10:49 to go first period. Shots now 7-0 in favor of Miami. And an upcoming face-off on the near side of the ice in Miami's offensive zone.
With this atmosphere that hasn't been really seen in quite some time. Again, we're talking about how packed each row of people in this arena are. You must imagine that Miami has some sort of resurgence in their playing.
Energy has definitely been high on the ice. Face-off win for the Huskies in the D zone. It's skated around the St. Cloud net by Finn Loftus. UMass transfer and Minnesota native. Hands it off for Reiners, who dumps it into the offensive zone. Again, Miami breaks it back out, but it's thrown right back in by St. Cloud. They'll go for a full 5-man change, though, so no forecheck at the moment. Miami breaks it up the far side of the ice, tip puck through center. Up to the end boards, where it's wrapped around the near side wall by St. Cloud. RedHawks, though, do hold it in as Morozov tracked it down. It took an awkward bounce on that ring attempt by Morozov. He tried to put it behind the net. It deflected in on goal, where it was easily covered by Shostak, and then Coach Adelic got a little close to the crease, and of course that's being policed rather heavily tonight. 10:15 to go first period. 0-0. A lot of offensive zone draws for Miami. They're over 50% on the dots. That's been, like you highlighted in pregame, a big issue for this team this year. Hay, Mikan, and Walker out there for the RedHawks. This is the fourth line with McEwen and Lukashevich. Interestingly, Miami is not dressing Ryder Thompson tonight, and instead they're dressing 13 forwards, so the extra skater is typically a defenseman as a forward tonight for the RedHawks, and it's John Emmons. Face-off win for St. Cloud. Rogers skates it out past center ice and slowly dumps it in. 2-on-2 battle ensues for it right behind the Miami net. We've got a penalty away from the puck here. Whistle blows the play dead. Don't know who it's on yet. Looks like it's on St. Cloud. Both teams touch the puck kind of at the same time below the goal line. And so it was hard to tell what it was, but they get the Huskies. It's Werner Miettinen, the junior from Espoo, Finland, that goes off for slashing. And Miami goes to the game's first power play, to their first power play of the game with 10:02 to go in the first period. Looking to break the ice.
We talked about St. Cloud's power play. Let's talk about their penalty kill. They rank 53rd in the entire NCAA. This is the time for Miami to score.
Taken and thrown into the stands. Look out. Off the face-off by St. Cloud. Looks like no one got hit by that. But off the face-off win, that was just whipped into the stands. Puck rolled on edge and just kind of got thrown out clear over the glass. It's not a penalty in college like it is in the NHL. 3 seconds go by on the penalty. Another face-off from the same spot, and again St. Cloud wins it. This time they get a clean dump. It goes down the ice and goes on goal, where it's handled by Mateo Drobak. As for Miami's power play, hot early. It's cooled down significantly in conference play. They're just 6 for 40 on the year. Morozov steps into the offensive zone for the RedHawks, and right as he stepped in, he turned his back, and it was swept into the neutral zone by Cooper Wiley. RedHawks are forced to break back. Delic, though, couldn't handle a pass along the near side, and that does not allow Miami to get up the ice with any sort of pace. Rosborough applying some light forecheck for St. Cloud. 40 seconds have gone by on this power play, and no possession in the O-zone for Miami. And again, they get it right back in, but it was poked in front of Coach Adelic, and St. Cloud takes it and clears part way out at least to neutral ice. Delic skates it into the offensive zone, backhands at center point for Lukashevich. Puck just sitting in the high slot, and it's knocked out off the near side boards, again to the neutral zone. St. Cloud changing up, as is Miami. Second unit on, and it's Ryan Smith, the Quinnipiac transfer, heading man up the center of the ice for the RedHawks. Helgeson on the left wing, backhands it into the corner of the offensive zone. It's brought up the near boards, and again, just cleared down the ice. Mason Reiners, the Edina kid, clears it down for the Huskies with 38 seconds to go on the penalty to Werner Miettinen. Miami into the offensive zone. Helgeson in the corner. Got pinned. Puck pops off his stick, but the RedHawks do recover it. Right point walking near side. Nassen with a one-timer. That whistles wide. Helgeson, center point. Quinn a drive. He scores! Well, sometimes power plays just do that for you. Absolutely nothing for Miami in the first minute and a half. They get 2 one-timers and cash in on the second one. Michael Quinn with his 3rd goal of the season, and the RedHawks draw first blood with a power play goal at the 8:20 mark of the first. It's 1-0.
Yeah, we talk about, especially Casper Nassen, his legendary slap shot. Talk about Michael Quinn right in the upper echelon of the net to give Miami its first goal of the game.
That is an area that Anthony Noreen talked about in one of his pregame press conferences as it's brought into the offensive zone and dumped on net by Zinger. Stick to side below the goal line where there's a battle for it. But they sent Michael Quinn, one of just a few returners from last year's team. Only 4 or 5 guys that were with this Miami team in the spring. So the RedHawks bring it out and dump it towards the offensive zone to try and change up. Phelan on it for the RedHawks, and now he'll dump it the rest of the way in. And they sent everybody home with a goal, and for Michael Quinn, they said, listen, we love your game. You had a great freshman year. He was one of Miami's top defensemen, but they said just the one hole in your game is just have no shot. Couldn't shoot the puck, and they wanted him to just go home and just shoot a bunch, and that's what he did in the offseason, and as a result, it's paid big dividends. Already 3 goals for him this year as a defenseman, and that was a ripper through traffic from the point. That gets Miami in front 1-0. Assists go to Helgeson and Nassen. 11:40 is the time of the goal, as Miami pokes it into the offensive zone, and Delic goes after it on the forecheck. Chipped off the glass by Ingram. He races after it into the offensive end. Michael Quinn shovels it along the near side boards. Miami gives it away right in front of their own net again, and Rosborough shot it off the left pad of Mateo Drobak. Rogers got tangled up high there with Smith. No call. Yes call. It was called by the far side official. The near side guy who was actually closer didn't get it, but Smith's stick came up and lifted the cage of Rogers. Actually going to get Helgeson here. 2 minutes for high sticking. They may have the wrong guy in that situation. Regardless, it's a penalty against Miami. It will send St. Cloud to their second power play of the game when we come back. But the RedHawks have broken the ice. Michael Quinn's 3rd goal of the year from Helgeson and Nassen at 11:40 has the RedHawks in front 1-0 with 6:44 to go in the first period. Miami PK when we come back. You're listening to Miami Hockey on Red Hawk Radio. .6:44 remaining first period. Miami leads it 1-0 off the goal by Michael Quinn. Officials did discuss it, by the way, in the break, and they changed the penalty server for Miami. It is a high-sticking penalty against Ryan Smith, not Max Helgeson. So they pulled Helgeson out of the penalty box during the break, and they put Ryan Smith in. There is a foam football that was just thrown onto the ice from the stand, so they've got to stop play really fast. But St. Cloud gets their second crack on the power play. Miami was excellent on their first kill, but again, this is one of the most lethal power plays in the entire nation that the Huskies have. Almost 33% on the year. So we'll see what power play number 2 looks like for Brett Larson's crew. Face-off on the near side of the ice, and it's the top line out there for St. Cloud, but Tyson Gross loses the face-off, and it's picked up and cleared down by Kyle Lecoyne for Miami. Penalty to Smith for high sticking. 6.5 to play first period. Miami leads it on the power play goal by Michael Quinn. Neither power play has looked very good so far. RedHawks did absolutely nothing for the first minute and a half of their power play. Finally got zone time, and then 2 quick one-timers back-to-back, and they found the back of the net. Off the move back into the offensive zone, a takeaway for the RedHawks against the end boards, and it's cleared back down with 35 seconds gone by, and the penalty to Smith. Gross skates it centrally. He's bumped off the puck as it skitters to the near side corner. McEwen lays a big hit on him. Puck pops out to Lukashevich, who's tugged back into the corner and in the midst of that pile. Working 1-on-2, he throws it behind the net. McEwen on it for Miami. And it's stolen away for St. Cloud. They wrap it up the near side boards. Wiley lost it. Morozov takes it. In on a breakaway. Morozov, backhand, stopped. Penalty coming up against St. Cloud. Lukashevich, meanwhile, as the trailer, he couldn't get that one to go as it goes high and wide. Morozov tries to throw it out in front. Delic got torn down from behind. McEwen with a slap shot wide on a bouncing puck through the slot. Now Miami throws it back in the direction of their net. It takes an awkward carom, but luckily not towards the empty cage. And Lukashevich skates it down. St. Cloud racing after it, though, and on the loose puck, it's touched up by Noah Ernest. And let's see if they get more than one penalty here. Let's also see if they give a penalty shot to Ilya Morozov. I think the referees may have some discussing to do. And it looks like they are going to give a penalty shot to Morozov. That was a foul from behind. Or rather, are they not? They pulled Ethan Hay over. I saw the 8 on the jersey and thought they were instructing Morozov to take a penalty shot. Anthony Noreen's got his hands in the X motion. He wants the penalty shot called. And Miami's also got a case that trying to hit the trailer, Coach Adelic had his skates kicked out from under him from behind in the center of the slot, and it was in the midst of a mad scramble that kind of got lost in that whole play, but that was without a doubt a penalty. And so, despite getting one penalty out of this is kind of a worst-case scenario out of that whole scramble for Miami. Morozov unable to score on the breakaway. You had a golden chance with Lukashevich as the trailer. You potentially could have got a penalty shot. You potentially could have had 2 calls against St. Cloud State. Instead, you get none of that. And now we'll skate 4 aside for the next 31 seconds. So, still a penalty. It's whistled against St. Cloud's Cooper Wiley. It's a hooking call, and with 5:14 to go in the first period, a 1-0 Miami lead. 4-on-4 for the next 31 seconds before a minute 29 of Miami power play time. Face-off win for the RedHawks. A coin on the left point, tries to drag it through the center of the slot, and that's taken away. Now Thorson skates it down the right side, working against a coin, and he's guided off the puck to the near side boards. Well done by the veteran defenseman for Miami. St. Cloud still with it in the offensive zone. Nolan Rode, though, is stripped to the puck, and Ethan Hay fumbled with it. It's thrown out in front. Rode fake to the backhand, goes to the forehand, and he's stopped as he threw it on goal. Save made by Drobak, who holds on. And that is the 3rd St. Cloud shot of the game. They're being outshot 10-3. 5 seconds remain of 4-on-4 time with Miami leading 1-0. No official stat keeping on my part, though. It feels like all 3 of those St. Cloud shots have looked exactly like that. Just kind of puzzling turnovers right in front of your net for Miami. And lucky that Mateo Drobak has been up to the task for all 3.
Yeah, so far, Drobak has been great, albeit it's been 3 shots, but those 3 shots were essentially almost one-on-ones. So for Drobak to save all 3 of those is really impressive.
A coin just slipped and fell, or rather, no, that was a coin for Miami, who just slipped and fell off the draw. Didn't allow the RedHawks clean possession off the faceoff, but the puck does come out to neutral ice, and now Miami gathers as the power play begins. Minute 17 of power play time. RedHawks stepping into the offensive zone. Morozov up to the right point for Lukashevich. He connects with his fellow Russian again. Morozov back for Lukashevich, right point now. Delic in the center. Sharp angle. Deputy tried to throw it in front. It was smothered at the bottom of the left circle by Mason Reiners. And the puck is recovered in space by Ryman to throw it down the ice. 4:08 to go, first period, 1-0 Miami. 52 seconds remaining on the penalty to St. Cloud. RedHawks were offside there on a delayed zone entry, and that allows the Huskies to pull this back behind their own net and waste more power play time. Slap shot all the way down. Lukashevich fumbled with it for a second. Mietnin was lurking for a potential breakaway. Giampa got thrown down next to the St. Cloud bench, and a penalty is called. The Huskies were ready to spring a breakaway to the middle of the ice as Grant Ashan had a lane, but Giampa got thrown down from behind. Miami bench wanted a penalty, and a 2-minute boarding call against Joe Belisle. So not a hard hit, but from that area of the ice, it puts Giampa in a pretty vulnerable spot. He bounced right back up, but he may get a visit from the trainer as he gets back on the bench. But now a huge opportunity up for Miami. 3:48 to go in the first period. They're up 1-0. They'll have 34 seconds of 5-on-3 time before about a minute and a half of a single man advantage power play. Hay out there with Smith and Nassen for Miami. Face-off win for St. Cloud, though, and the clearing attempt scoots between the legs of Michael Quinn, who tried to hold the zone, and it goes down the ice. Miami's going to get about 15 seconds of 5-on-3 time once they get it back into the zone, and they do. On the right wing, Smith curls in the corner, throws it up right point. Quinn, left point Lukashevich, now in the left circle, Nassen. Center point Quinn, fakes, tried to find Nassen for a one-timer, but he hit him on his backhand. He's forced to turn it around. Lukashevich, center point, Quinn with a shot, and that's saved by Shostak. And this time he gobbles up the Quinn one-timer, which got through him last time on the power play, and leaves no rebound with two Redhawks on the edge of the crease. 2 seconds remaining of 5-on-3, minute 27 of power play after that for Miami. 3:16 to go in the first, still 1-0 Redhawks.
You could definitely see the approach Miami is having on these power plays, again, with these slap shots going away from the net. We saw a bunch of breakaways lead into a lot of passes towards the middle of the zone, but as we can see over these past few minutes, St. Cloud has managed to lock down right in front of the net, so having those slap shots is the key to the game.
Giampa, center of the slot, save made, rebound, Deputy got a swipe at it, it leaks to the back door, and Delic couldn't get a shot away. St. Cloud returns the first man to the ice. It's a 5-on-4 for Miami for the next minute 17. Delic in the left circle, sauces into the corner for Deputy. Deputy walks out, drags, sharp angle shot, save made, hugging the post for Shostak. And he hangs on with a minute and 9 seconds remaining on the penalty. Belial in there for boarding, 2:57 to go in the first. It is 15-4 in the shot department in favor of Miami, and they lead it 1-0. Face-off coming to Shostak's right. Top power play unit back out there for Miami, and Morozov wins the face-off. Quinn on the left point, hands it off for Delic. Delic skates at top of the left circle, fumbled with it, and just chips it low for Deputy. Back up left wall for Delic, skates to the middle of the ice, drag, shoots, it's blocked by Wiley. Flicked into the right corner for Morozov, who gloves it down. Back up to the point, Delic on the left side. Center point, Quinn. Deputy in the corner, throws it on net. Hit the mask of Shostak, and he grabs it out of the air to make the stop. 48 seconds remain on the penalty. 2:35 to go in the first, and it's 1-0 Miami. Redhawks keep the top unit out there. They've got just one defenseman on the ice in Michael Quinn, who's the only guy playing the point off the faceoff. Coach Delic serves as the other point man once they get into their setup. Miami wins the faceoff, but with just the one point man, it gets by Quinn, and the Redhawks have to back it up. Miami tries to send a long feed ahead, but Morozov couldn't handle a bouncing puck just inside the offensive blue line and pulls it back out to neutral ice. Just over 30 seconds to go in the penalty. Deputy in a tight spot on the left side. It's whacked off his stick, and now potential 2-on-1 developing, but now just a 1-on-1 for Ryman as Miettinen went to change. Redhawk reinforcements arrive back, and it's just put behind the cage by Ryman to kill more time. 15 seconds to go in the power play. Delic down the left wing, skates it diagonally up to the blue line, tried to hand it off for Deputy, but he was a step ahead, and it's touched up offside by Miami. 2 minutes to play in the first. Redhawks still on this extended power play, but just 13 seconds remain on it as the second unit comes back out. One nothing Redhawks. Justin Stupka taking the draw against Nolan Rode, and Rode is tossed aside. This is something that we're seeing a lot of this year, point of emphasis for NCHC officials to call these faceoffs very tightly. And with Rode getting thrown out, Miami wins the draw, and they dump it into the offensive zone as the penalty time starts to wind down. Shostak throws it himself up the far side boards. It's taken and thrown in front. It's sticked aside. Nassen then tried to throw it to the back door. But a bouncing puck in front is recovered by Grimes, and he just chopped it on net as the penalty timer expired. And that is easily handled by Shostak. Rode on the far side boards, couldn't clear. Grimes on it with Phelan for Miami. Grimes got twisted up as the puck is thrown back in deep. A coin pinches for Miami to work 1 against 2. Puck flies free. It's gathered by Stupka. He brings it below the goal line. Up to the right point, Delic. Cross the way for O'Coin. Left side shot is high and wide. And a one-time attempt to clear doesn't go for St. Cloud as Rode missed it, but the Redhawks clear it themselves off an errant pass. Miami regroups. 1:03 to go. First period. RedHawks threaded through center. Puck is tipped into the offensive zone by Nick Mikan. He skates after it. And below the goal line, more trouble for St. Cloud. It's pulled out and thrown in front by Bradley Walker, but it's tipped back behind the net by St. Cloud. Zinger missed a pass on the near side that allows the RedHawks to hold the zone. Walker forces it ahead. Hay turns and shifts it to the far side, where the puck ends up on the point for Donato. His footing was a little bit off, but still wired it in deep and avoided anything disastrous along the point. St. Cloud clears out to center, though, where the RedHawks trying to dump it back in. Hay sends a deflected puck partway into the zone as Miami goes for a change. 15 seconds remaining in the opening period. Maybe one last rush for St. Cloud. Zinger throws a cross-corner dump off the end boards. St. Cloud goes for a change with 6 seconds to go. Miami's got a chance to break this up with speed. Deputy down the left side with 3 seconds, 2 and 1. He throws it out in front. Nobody there for Miami. And the puck ends up on the far side boards as the clock hits zeros. Well, this period and this performance from Miami, everything as advertised to this massive crowd inside Cady Arena. The RedHawks outshoot St. Cloud State 19-4 in the first period. They have just one goal to show for it, but coming off a disappointing weekend on the road against the defending national champs, there's not much better that you could do outside of what we saw in that first 20.
Yeah, although it's only a 1-0 game, just looking at the shots category, 32 for Miami compared to 7 for St. Cloud State. So there are definitely the opportunities that present themselves for these RedHawks. It's just a matter of will they capitalize it.
So we will step aside when we come back. Will Salzarulo has a RedHawk Radio intermission. Stats and analysis from the first period, a look around the world of college hockey, and a preview of the second coming up after the break. Again, after 20 minutes here from Cady Arena, the score Miami 1 and St. Cloud State 0 here on Cradle of Coaches Weekend in Oxford. You're listening to Miami Hockey on RedHawk Radio. Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to Miami Hockey on RedHawk Radio. Hello, I am Will Salzarulo, and this is your first intermission report. What a great first period. What a great start for the Miami RedHawks. Miami RedHawks is up 1-0. That goal was by Michael Quinn, assisted by Maximilian Helgeson and Casper Nassen. Now, Coach Noreen's plan of having a clean game from Miami is going well so far. St. Cloud has 4 penalties so far, with Miami only having 1. Granted, that was a stick penalty, which is something Coach Noreen's of Miami said they need to work on 100%. Miami has been dominant in the first period. Miami with 19 shots on goal, and St. Cloud only with 4. That explains why Miami's up 1-0 today. That goal was a power play goal earlier. Later in the NCHC, there are many games tonight. Western Michigan's at Omaha. Denver is at Arizona State. Minnesota Duluth at Colorado College. And the U.S. under-18 team is in an exhibition match against North Dakota. Now it is Cradle of Coaches night weekend here at Goggin and Miami for the whole month pretty much. And Cradle of Coaches is a program where in Miami where any student that goes into coaching full-time will be admitted into the Cradle of Coaches. That documentary is actually coming out later this year, maybe early next year, which focuses on Miami's football program. Now, that's all the time we have tonight with a dominant start from Miami. Miami has it over the edge with 1-0 in favor of Miami. I have been Will Salzarulo, and this has been your first intermission show. Later, in a little bit, I'm going to send it over to Luke West Poley and Aiden Sonez, and they will talk about more about the second period. You're listening to Miami Hockey on Red Hawk Radio.
Second period about to get started. Miami leads St. Cloud State 1-0 after 20 minutes in the first game of this weekend series. Aiden Stones, Lucas Poley with you on this Friday night from Oxford. Aiden, great crowd, great energy, statistical adjustment, 18 shots, not 19. Still a very strong first 20 minutes for Miami.
Yeah, one player I really want to highlight, David Deputy. 8 shots, 4 of which on goal in the first period alone is a great stat to have, especially since we still have 2/3 of the game left. So overall, Miami just needs to keep up with what they're doing. 18 shots in goal compared to 3 shots in goal is really impressive, especially for these RedHawks.
So the RedHawks will go left to right in the second period. St. Cloud State right to left. Again, the uniform matchup is flipped here on Cradle of Coaches weekend. Miami all black, St. Cloud State, and white uniform tops with white socks. Face-off win for the Huskies, who will look to come out a different team as they aim to avoid their 4th straight loss. And they dump it into the offensive zone to begin. They have won the last 6 meetings, and they are lossless in their last 8 overall. Miami's last win in 2022. RedHawks got it out to the neutral zone, but kind of an awkward dump-in trickled in on Mateo Drobak, who covers it up 19 seconds into the period. If you think back to Miami's last win against St. Cloud State, it was back in December of 2022. It was a 5-0 win on Saturday night after being dominated pretty badly on Friday night. Miami answered with a Johnny Waldron hat trick, and the RedHawks won 5-0 in the second night of the series that night over St. Cloud. Following 2 meetings were ties up in St. Cloud, and then the next 6 have all gone the way of the Huskies. Defensive zone faceoff won by the RedHawks. Kyle Lecoyne skates it around the near boards and flicks it off the glass out to center ice. Backed up on there by the Huskies, and a feed through the middle was deflected up and lobs into the Husky bench, where it is grabbed by third-string goaltender James Ray. Neutral ice faceoff coming up near side of the ice. Choppy start to the second period, 29 seconds into it, as Miami leads it 1-0. Deputy Helgeson Smith out there with Quinn and Lukashevich for Miami. All kinds of tangled up bodies as Brian Gorkov tried to drop the puck, so he gets everybody reset. And the puck is down, and the faceoff is pulled back by Rogers for St. Cloud, and the Huskies control. Through neutral ice, Lukashevich takes it away at Miami's defensive blue line. Fluttering puck through center, gets past David Deputy, but he got his stick on it in the air. And that negates the icing as it flies into the St. Cloud zone. Huskies break it out, though, quickly with pace, and now a 3-on-2 developing for St. Cloud. Rogers drives it down the left side, tried to leave it behind, but it was poked away by Lukashevich. He was looking for Mietnin on the drop pass. And then there was a driver to the backside post. That was Finn Loftus, but they couldn't get there. Now a move to the front of the net. Dangle through traffic by Ingram. He had to backhand it, though, from a sharp angle on the doorstep, and Drobak stoned him to make the save. He holds with 18:52 to go in the second period. And St. Cloud's had the early jump in the middle frame. It's still 1-0 Miami.
Again, a really scary situation. It's almost like a one-on-one, and then you just have Mateo Drobak save another one.
Again, 5 shots against for Drobak so far, but all have been of really high quality. Miami turned the puck over a lot in front of their own net, and there's a shot off the draw for St. Cloud that Drobak got a glove on as it skitters wide. Have to see whether or not that goes down as an official shot on goal. Regardless, it ends up at the right point for St. Cloud, where it's driven back in deep by Josh Zinger, the Northern Michigan transfer. Now below the goal line, it's played up the wall for Miami by Sean McEwen, but not out. Bufflin on the left point, wrister through traffic. It was tipped in the left circle by Austin Bernovic, but it ends up wide of the net. Huskies still with it. Circle of the zone by Hall, and his shot got eaten up by McEwen, who backhands it down the ice, and it's on goal. So the Huskies have to play it, and Miami gets to at least partially change. Now it's thrown up the ice, and it's chased down for St. Cloud in the near side corner by Tyson Gross. An escape move on one, but second man there for the RedHawks to strip him of the puck. Bernovic, though, takes it and rounds the puck around the boards to the far side. McEwen back on it for Miami. Giveaway in the right circle. Shot through traffic, tipped up in the air and out of play off the stick of Gavin Thorson. And we get a stoppage with 17:52 to go in the second period. Still 1-0 RedHawks, but You figured Brett Larson's crew would come back with renewed energy, and they have in this second. Third line out there for St. Cloud against Miami's fourth line. That's Mike and Hay and Walker. Face-off win for the Huskies. Up to the right point, a shot. May have hit off the official there. It was blocked as Phelan throws it to the middle of the ice. Hay steps into it, in on a breakaway. Hay pokes it, they score! Hay had two Huskies all over his back. He lost control of the puck. And with Shostak coming out to try and play it, he just poked the puck between his legs. Shostak then clamped the puck between his legs, but backed into the goal. The Huskies were arguing that that never crossed the goal line, as when Shostak popped back up, the puck was in the crease. They are going to review this. But again, it was just an out-of-control play, and Hay just got a step, poked it in on goal. It went through Shostak's legs, but after that, everybody lost it except for the referee, who signaled goal. All of Shostak's body, it appeared, was in the net, but St. Cloud arguing that that puck somehow stayed out. What may not help their case, though, here is even if that puck was in between his legs, that means it's going to be impossible to see on review. And so this goal, you would think, likely to stand unless they see something very definitive on review.
Yeah, it's an interesting play to say the least. I don't think I've ever seen a goalie necessarily bring the puck with them into the goal before. So again, we're talking about the camera work for these for this replay crew. Will there be enough evidence to see that the puck somehow managed to stay outside the goal? It'll be hard to tell.
How about the effort play from Ethan Hay? It would be the second goal of the freshman's career. Just got enough speed coming up the ice to get that puck. And again, it was a mini breakaway, but he had two defenders that were right on his back. He did not have any sort of time and space to do any type of move or even really poke the puck. And because the puck was so far out in front of him, just kind of flailed at it and then tailed off to the left of the goal. And by the time he turned around and was faced back up to the net, Shostak had it squeezed between his legs, but in the eyes of the referee, he had backed completely into the goal. So they're taking a good look at this. Again, Andrew Wilk and Andy Thackaberry are the referees tonight. As part of this NCHC crew. Third conference series of the season for each of these two teams. And now we're going to get our call. Here we go. Call on the ice stands. So it's a goal. For Ethan Hay, give the assist to Michael Phelan. Couple of freshmen connect. Second goal of the year for Hay, second assist of the year for Phelan. As they are each adding on to nice freshman campaigns, and Miami makes it 2-0 with 17:40 to go in the second period. Interesting, we didn't actually get an indication from the referee of if the call was confirmed or if it stood. Just said good goal, so we'll never know whether or not it was just undisputable or inconclusive, I should say, or if they actually did see the puck enter the goal. Regardless, it's goal number 2 of the night for Miami, and they lead by 2. As now the RedHawks take it up the ice, and Giampa tried to spin it in, but Finn Loftus gave him nothing, and the UMass transfer backs down on him and takes hold of possession. Chip through the middle of the ice. Hall skates it down in the right corner. He gets a good bump from Kyle Lecoyne. 2-on-2 puck battle ensues for it. Phelan pulls it out for Miami and wraps it around the boards. On the near side, Morozov gets body position, throws it through the middle of the ice. It's chipped up ahead for Miami. Coach Adelik looked to skate in front of it, but he blew a tire. RedHawks pull it back and now wire it ahead. Mateo Giampa steps into the left side of the offensive zone. Giampa around the goal. Backhand up to the right point for Quinn. One time through traffic. Delic got a stick on it. It goes wide. And now a deflection and a break the other way for Rogers. Quinn hustling back on him, though, and Quinn pokes it away. So that denies a breakaway. Good hustle from Michael Quinn. And the RedHawks break out, and now a potential 3-on-2 developing for Miami, but they do get caught in the midst of a change. Giampa steps in on the left wing, and he just dumps it in as the RedHawks finish out the refresh. Zinger stripped to the puck by Helgeson, but Deputy lost his stick, and so he couldn't throw it in front. Miami tried to chip it to the backside where Helgeson was waiting on it, but it came too far, and it's lifted out to safety by St. Cloud. RedHawks try the regroup. Deputy was clean stripped of it. Dump-in attempt was knocked down by Michael Quinn, but St. Cloud has it. A throw across the ice by Thorson looking in front, but that was sticked away by Drobak. Couldn't get to the intended target. Lukashevich battling in the corner. His stick got stuck in the Zamboni doors. St. Cloud with it as they reverse ice to the near side. Wiley with a shot. That flies high and ends up in the right corner. Pulled out by the Huskies and thrown in front for Rode. He had to kick it to his stick and just pushed it wide. St. Cloud still with it. There's an errant stick. It's a CCM one. That means it belongs to the Huskies on the near side of the ice. Wraparound attempt from below the goal line for Rode. He got it poked off his stick. Now Thorson up left point for Wiley. He throws it across the way for Smolinski. Thorson left circle trying to drag and shoot. That's tipped wide. Huskies still with it though. Center point shot through traffic by Wiley is grabbed by Drobak and he freezes it with 15:07 to go in the second period. And a chance to take a breath. It's 2-0 Miami. They're out shooting St. Cloud 19-6.
That is a much-needed stop for Miami. You could see the momentum was starting to die down for these RedHawks. So a much-needed break, a much-needed rest is very, very needed for this team.
So following the flurry, offensive zone faceoff for St. Cloud. They lose it. McEwen pulls it free for Miami and sends it to neutral ice. Hassan working on the forecheck. Stupka forks it into the offensive end for Miami. Wiley back on the chase for St. Cloud. He leaves it in the far corner. Smolinski turned it over. RedHawks with it. McEwen left point. Shoots. Save made. Rebound in the left circle. Stupka tried to swipe at it, but he had his stick lifted, and Gross ends up with possession for the Huskies. Wiley up the near side finds Bernovic to tip it into the offensive end. Huskies on the forecheck, and a giveaway in front of the Huskies score. Another costly turnover for Miami. Drobak went below the goal line to play it right next to him for Sean McEwen. And McEwen just gave it away in front of the net. Drobak still below the goal line, and the Huskies get a freebie, and that is a momentum killer with 14:34 to go in the second period as St. Cloud has made it 2-1.
Yeah, overall, just not the best play. It was a little sloppy. The question is, though, did Drobak make the right call? It seems like it managed to get out of the forward's stick and then into the goal, so I would not fault Drobak for that mistake.
Barrett Hall gets the goal unassisted. St. Cloud's alternate captain collects his 5th of the year as part of that lethal top line. They now have 20 goals between them in game number 13 for St. Cloud this year. And the Huskies still on the attack. Ryman dumps it deeper into the offensive zone. Phelan gloves it down for Miami. He got twisted around and lost possession. Loftus on the left point. Across for Reiners. Threw it in front in the slot. Glove save made off a deflection by Drobak. There was a chance for a backdoor rebound, but nobody could find it for St. Cloud. Cleared to the blue line, but not out. Loftus skates it into the corner. Now wraps it around the net. Bank pass up right point. Wrist shot from there by the filling forward was blocked down in front by Miami. And the RedHawks do clear it out. St. Cloud bangs it back in to finish up their change. Pressure alleviates for the RedHawks. They work it up the far side of the ice. Morozov fumbled it in front of the Miami bench. And now Ingram with a lane down the left side. Ingram drags and shoots. That flies wide. Takes a carom and ends up all the way back in the St. Cloud zone. Hustled after by the Huskies defense. Joe Belisle takes the D-to-D feed on the near side. Sends another diagonal pass across to Ingram, who skates it in on the far wing. Trying to shovel it in front, but that was stopped short. Huskies still with it. Partial spin move at the blue line, and now a pass to the near side for Belisle. Back center point for Thor. Bufflin throws it in front. The puck leaked to the near side post, but no Huskies could track it. Miettinen just had to play it in the corner. Rogers battling along with Ingram for St. Cloud against Michael Quinn for Miami, and Rogers pulls the puck out. Belisle tried to throw it in front. That's blocked by Delic, and now the RedHawks have a 3-on-2 if they hurry. Giampa down the left wing. Skates it into the corner, tried to drive out in front. Good poke check by Bufflin. Did not let the puck get into the front of the net. And the Huskies take it, and it's cleared down the ice, where Ernest goes in on the forecheck. St. Cloud wins possession for a moment, but Giampa pulls it back for Miami. Saucer pass to the middle for Smith. He skates it diagonally through center. Tried to chip it deep, but he fanned on the passing attempts. Now he takes a spill right on top of the puck. St. Cloud pulls it out. Thorson working it up the near wall, climbing across the red line. And now Ernest skates it further for St. Cloud, dangling into the offensive zone, but he got poked off the puck almost immediately. Puck came to Deputy, and he got leveled in the neutral zone. That's what the crowd reaction was for, as Miami regroups in their own end. RedHawks just not on the same page there, as Donato looked for Helgeson, but just gave it right to the Huskies. Fortunately, Miami applies pressure. St. Cloud can't get the other way with speed. 11:47 to go, second period. St. Cloud off the mishap below Miami's goal line have made it 2-1. RedHawks still in front as Helgeson lifts it into the offensive end. Wiley gets to it, floats it off the glass for St. Cloud, and McEwen gloves it down. McEwen D-to-D for Phelan. Phelan up the wall for John Emmons, and he banks it into the offensive end. Stupka hustling against Wiley, pokes it behind the cage. Grimes with possession for Miami, trying to body his way in front, looking for Emmons, but the puck skittered away, and it's picked up by St. Cloud. And a chance to thread the needle. The puck caroms to the near side, where it's thrown off the side of the net by Brnovic, and the RedHawks skate out with it. Grimes working 1 against 3, just tosses it into the offensive zone. Grimes throws a big hit as the Huskies break out. Hall through center. To the right side for Gross. Couldn't hold on to possession. Stupka flings it across. Aucoin now in a 2-on-1 with Grimes. Aucoin shoots wide. Aiming for that top left corner, tried to pick it and shot it just above the cage. Miami has had their fair share of odd man chances tonight. RedHawks cannot convert there. Still 2-1. RedHawks in the regroup back in their own end. Lukashevich surveys the ice. Goes up the wall. Tipped in by Nick Mikan, looking for one of Miami's 2 goal scorers, Ethan Hay. Directed into the offensive zone, but broken out with ease by St. Cloud. As Sean sends his defender tumbling and plays it across for Loftus. Light chip into the offensive zone for the Huskies. Bufflin applying some pressure. Now the D-man backs to the point. It comes up to him on the left point off a deflection. His shot hit the hand as it's grabbed out of the air by Walker. Settled down, though, by the Huskies, who still have possession of the puck. Zinger skates it into the corner. Wraps around to the near side. Zinger tried to throw it on from the sharp angle. It was blocked by McEwen. And it takes its way all the way down the ice. Icing is waved as the RedHawks change up. Past the halfway mark of regulation. 9:47 to go, second period. It's 2-1 Miami. Lukashevich thwarts an attempt to get it in deep for St. Cloud. Back on the retool in the neutral zone. Ryman spades it in on goal from outside the blue line, and Drobak just covers it up to bring us to a immediate timeout. Still high flying. This pace has continued into the middle frame. Each team adds a goal in the first half of period number 2, and it's 2-1 Miami with 9:34 to go in the second. Back to Cady Arena after this. You're listening to Miami Hockey on Red Hawk Radio. 9:34 remaining second period. Teams have traded goals in this frame. Miami got the first off kind of a broken play rush for Ethan Hay. He poked it between the legs of Jan Shostak, who backed into his own net. Then with Mateo Drobak handling the puck below Miami's goal line, handed it off to Sean McEwen, who was right next to him, but gave it away in front. And with Drobak not in his net yet, St. Cloud grabbed their goals. So both goals in this period have come with some awkward goaltending play. And now we get back underway with just under 10 minutes to go. Puck in St. Cloud's offensive end, but taken over by the RedHawks. And now Morozov skates it through center, enters the offensive zone. Morozov drives into the corner, throws it off the pad of Shostak, looking for somebody to get the rebound, but it found nothing but Huskies. Quinn now gets it across, and the RedHawks have a 3-on-2 rush. Morozov tried to send it across for Delic, but he fanned on the pass. Delic still gets to it, but it stops up the rush for Miami. Delic throws it in deep. Morozov wins possession, threw it in front, looking for Delic, and it scored it between his legs and out to neutral ice. Phelan wraps it around the boards, back in deep for Miami. Backhander from the point for a coin is blocked at the doorstep of the crease by St. Cloud, and the puck leaks just outside the blue line for Miami, who resets. Chopped back in by Max Helgeson. Shostak way out of his net. RedHawks get on it first, but they're delayed enough as Shostak recovers. Deputy left point, throws it through traffic, deflected in front. O'Coin trying to track it. Looked like it hit him in the glove, but he couldn't settle it for a shot. RedHawks still with it. Phelan with a shot from the right side, stood up by Rogers. He records the block. Helgeson tried to spin that one in front. That was stopped short. Deputy now working below the goal line for Miami. Clearing attempt gets as far as Ingram for St. Cloud. Thrown in front by Helgeson, save made. Rebound, doorstep, stop on Smith by Shostak. Smith still with it now, skating to the center slot, trying to throw it on goal, but that's blocked well wide. Good shift here for Miami. Phelan walks center point, hands off Smith on the right side, drags and shoots. Hit right into the midsection of a St. Cloud player in front, and a slap shot from Helgeson that Shostak saw the whole way. He knocks it down, his defense clears, and just shy of icing. That allows St. Cloud to change, and Miami immediately gets it back up ice. Stupka on the right wing tried to hand it off for Grimes. Now Donato hustles in to hold the zone for Miami as he missed the initial trailer. He whacks it wide. Puck below the goal line. It's chopped in front. Two RedHawks there, but it misses them both. And now a break the other way for Rode. Rode skates around Donato, but Donato recovers to knock him off the puck in the right circle just as he entered the offensive zone. Stupka threads a pass ahead for McEwen. He hands off just inside the blue line for Grimes. Toe drag to dangle through the first defender. Grimes hands to Stupka. Room in the right circle. Shoots. It's blocked in front by Thorson. And now it's Loftus for St. Cloud below the goal line, who shovels it along the far side wall. Not out for the Huskies. McEwen drives it in, and that puck rode up on him and ends up in the crowd there somehow. Actually, it hit off the protective netting and then came back and hit Shostak and went into the goal, but it had very obviously hit high up the protective netting, and the whistle was blown. And that's what drew the ire of this crowd. Well, after as much pace as this second period has had, these teams get an extended break with back-to-back timeouts. We'll step aside with 6:56 to go in the second period, and the score remaining Miami 2 and St. Cloud State 1. You're listening to Miami Hockey on Red Hawk Radio.
Yeah.
6:56 to go, second period. It's Miami 2 and St. Cloud State 1. RedHawks out shooting the Huskies 25-9. And they have come out with a whole boatload of energy after a weekend in which they fell flat, but namely really on Saturday night, where Miami just had absolutely nothing going for the first two periods of the hockey game. At one point being outshot around 30-5 in that game against Western Michigan. And the RedHawks have responded in a big way here tonight. They have dominated this game. If not for a costly mishap, it would be a 2-0 hockey game or potentially more. St. Cloud State wins the defensive zone face-off, and the Huskies break it forward with speed, dump it into the offensive zone, where Hayes back on it in the near side corner for Miami. Puck wraps up the near wall. Loftus throws it in front. It's deflected. They score. Ashan kicked it to himself in front of the net and just tucked it inside the right post. And St. Cloud State has tied it with 6:38 to go in the second. First goal of the year for Grant Ashan, the veteran, whose family is very familiar to these Huskies. And despite all your best efforts in this game for Miami, that's all wiped away as it's a brand new hockey game tied at 2.
That was a very interesting goal by Ashan. He almost assisted himself. Again, we're talking about how he just kicked it right in front and dragged it right past the goalie for the goal. Now let's see how Miami bounces back.
Ashan gets the goal, assist to Finn Loftus, his second of the season at 13:22. So Ashan from Loftus, and now Miami trying to get on the mend here as a coin pinches to hold the puck into the offensive zone. Delic holds it on the left point, throws it into the corner. Giampa trying to walk to the front of the net. He was pushed to the boards. Morozov from the center point throws one way high. Picked up off the end wall for St. Cloud. Couldn't clear initially, but now they do as Phelan backs up on it for Miami. Hall applying some pressure. Deflected puck through center. Delic was trying to guide it into the offensive zone and instead guided it into the fifth row. And that gives a stoppage with 5:56 remaining in the second period. Energy still good in this building, but a little bit stunned after what they've witnessed in the second period. Miami was firing on all cylinders, and even after that goal, still didn't really get bogged down. But the RedHawks really, with just a couple of mistakes, and they've been charged for them both in a tie hockey game. Miami dumps it in off the faceoff. Smith between the legs, pass for Deputy in the left circle, but there was all kinds of traffic there, and puck is kicked out to neutral ice, where the RedHawks bound it back in. Wiley gave it away below the goal line. RedHawks tried to force it out in front, but it didn't reach Smith, instead cut off. Again, though, St. Cloud State initially can't clear, but now they do on the second try as Thorson walks it across the center red and wraps a dump in around the boards to the near side. Deputy comes out with it for Miami. Lost the puck now. McEwen springs out with Helgeson in a 2-on-1. Back checkers. Helgeson drags, shoots. Save made with the chest by Shostak. Puck guided to the near wing where Deputy is on it for Miami. Now Smith chops it in behind. It went off the stick of Helgeson, and St. Cloud clears. Just taken and thrown down the ice by the Huskies. This is icing with 4:59 remaining in the period. Even hockey game, but again, a little bit of spring in Miami's step following an opposing goal. RedHawks select to take this draw on the right wing.
Yeah, during the first goal, you started to see Miami's momentum start to diminish a little bit, but after the second goal for these Huskies, it seems that Miami has figured a way to bounce back really quick, maintaining puck possession and hopefully leading to a goal in the offensive zone.
Face-off win for the Huskies. Puck takes a crazy bounce off the stanchion and didn't get out off the first clear, so Rode had to direct it the rest of the way for the Huskies. And Miami bangs it right back in. Stupka in on the forecheck with Nasson for Miami, working against Rode in the near corner. Grimes had it fly between his legs as the puck sprung out of the pile. And that allows Ryman to skate it across the red line and chip it in. RedHawks break it out. Stupka, bracketed by white jerseys, lifts it into the offensive zone. Loftus on the near wing, directs it further for Ashan. And he throws it across the ice for Mason Reiners. The alternate captains for St. Cloud plays it into the offensive end, overskated it. And that allows a coin and Giampa to play it free to the far side. Nasson skates it out for Miami. Backhand shovel into the offensive zone. Giampa will arrive at this puck first. He does, but he's quickly taken care of by Ashan. St. Cloud, though, gives it away high in the zone, and Morozov tucks it in deep where Delic runs it down, handed it off in the left circle looking for Giampa. A little too far in front of him, and St. Cloud pokes it out to neutral ice. RedHawks look to recover. Phelan skates it down the right side. Throws it around the kickboard all the way around and out of the zone. on the far side. Miami throws it on net there as they were tagging up for offside. That was a coin, and now the RedHawks can forecheck, and again, St. Cloud State gives it away. Delic in the right circle, skates to the left side, shoots and scores! Coach Delic, DIY, and Miami retakes the lead with 3:21 to go in the second period. It's 3-2 off the freshman who has taken this team by storm. That's his 6th of the year.
That was a very beautiful goal, especially coming from that first line of Delic, Morzov, and Giampa. Right on the top, almost hits the crossbar into the goal. RedHawks winning 3-2.
Credit and assist to Nick Mikan, who forced that turnover. And again, just some sloppiness. St. Cloud, though, looks like it's going to challenge this. St. Cloud is challenging the play, and the linesmen are entering the penalty box, not the referees, which is an indication that I believe they're looking at offside here. And that is the first camera angle they go to, right along the blue line. And this could be a heady play for the folks up top on the St. Cloud State staff, because, again, this is not one of those cut and dry offside calls where it looked a little bit funky on the rush in and then you score. Miami had dumped that in, spent some time on the forecheck, forced a turnover, and then scored. But by rule, if the zone entry that happens before the goal is offsides, it can nullify that play even if it happened minutes before the goal was scored. And so they're looking at a zone entry right now that happened probably about 30 seconds or so before the actual goal was scored for the RedHawks. So 3:21 remaining in the second period. Call on the ice was a goal. Delic from Mikan late in the second. Gives us a chance to just step back and admire this scene a little bit, as again there's still a full ring of folks standing above the top row of seats on the concourse, which is something that I can say from experience, having lived here essentially my entire life and being here in the early 2000s. This was what it was like on a week in, week out basis, but we have not seen a crowd like this in a very long time. Anthony Noreen earlier this week was engaging with students. He gave a speech a couple nights ago to the IFC here at Miami, just talking about what their support and what the social scene at this university could do for his team in recruiting. And obviously showing up for games. There was a partnership with Brick Street. They had an event there pregame, and everybody's got their Brick Street Miami Hockey collab shirts on. There's a lot of white in the student section, and over 2,000 student tickets were out for this game. This arena seats only a little over 3,000, so this is about 2/3 students, which is not normal. And we'll have, I'm sure, lots of good nuggets about this crowd for you tomorrow, as Tim Carey, Miami's Hockey Sports Information Director, will be on the scene, I'm sure, to look up when it was the last time we had a crowd like this, because it has been a while and it's refreshing. Long look at this offside. It must be very, very close. We don't have a look in arena here. 3:21 to go in the second period. Now the referees have started to offer up their opinion on this.
You know, if it's very close to call, you obviously know that too close to call, the call that normally stands is the general outcome. So we'll see here if that's the case.
And by the way, for those that complain that reviews are too long, they actually are timed by the league, and they keep track of that information. And kind of to your point, when it takes this long, the it can be awfully difficult to overturn the call. The officials are exiting the box, and we will get our call from Andrew Wilk. Or rather, Andy Thackaberry, if his mic works. He's gonna... Well, the referee kind of left everybody on a cliffhanger there. He stuck his arms out to the side off his initial gesture, and the microphone was a little bit fuzzy, and there was a nervous moment of stunned silence that goal might have got waved off. Then he turned around and pointed to the center dot. It is a good goal, and Miami leads it 3-2. Sixth of the year for Delic, assist to Nick Mikan. That is his first point as a Red Hawk after transferring in from St. Thomas, and also the first point of his collegiate career after playing just 5 games last season. So congrats to Nick. And we will get underway again in a moment. Brett Larson is leading his case, and crucially, remember now too, St. Cloud now does not have a timeout for the rest of the game after that lost challenge. That was not an official review. Unlike Miami's second goal, this one actually requested by the Huskies, and so they lose the timeout. Back underway, and the Huskies dump it into the offensive end. A coin gets onto it for Miami. A coin, though, trips and falls, and Gross gets to the puck for St. Cloud to throw it in front. Deflection, and it ping-pongs across the top of the blue paint, but Drobak had eyes on it the whole way, and Miami guides it out to center ice. Gross, bracketed by RedHawks, skates it back in. He's bumped off the puck, and it's Deputy for the near wall for Miami. Along the hashes, plays it ahead for Smith, who chips it out to center. Under 3 minutes to go, second period, it's 3-2 Miami. RedHawks have it at their defensive blue. Ryan Smith curls to the far side, and now swerves up the ice, dangles through 2 defenders. Throws his head back, heads to the right side. He tripped and fell, and just hooked the puck in front, but Deputy is forced to grab it and skate to the near side boards. Deputy brought to the ice. St. Cloud takes over, and the Huskies do clear as Bernovic threw it to the far side, and Bufflin took a pretty nice-sized hit from McEwen, who didn't get all of him, but got enough. Now Morozov tries to dangle his way in front, and Bufflin does not let him have an inch. The puck is lobbed over Miami's bench, and duck and cover for the coaching staff as it ends up hitting off the piece of glass that's in between the 2 benches. It's out of play, and the faceoff will back up inside St. Cloud's end with 2:06 to go in the second period.
You know, as we were saying earlier, this isn't a very traditional game. A lot more people here because of that crossover with Brick Street, but also in terms of Miami's goals, 2 of them have been challenged already to see if it was a goal or not. So goals coming from interesting places, to say the least.
RedHawks win the draw. Giampa fanned on the first shot, and his second attempt was poked away as that faceoff went right to him at the top of the circle, but he couldn't pull the trigger. RedHawks went out, then back in, and Giampa touched up. Somebody didn't clear the zone there. It's offside. Linesman is pointing at Ilya Morozov, not getting all the way out. 1:57 to go in the second period. RedHawks lead it by a goal. Coach Delic scored it. Delic's back out there with Giampa and Morozov following the extended review. Got a quick cross-check to the arm there for St. Cloud, and the linesman was all over it and immediately throws the center out. That was Thorson working against Delic, so instead Ernest has to come take the draw, but he does take it and win it for St. Cloud. Miami, though, gets possession in the neutral zone and throws it into the offensive end. Thorson tried to stretch the ice looking for Ernest, who got in behind Miami, but they stop it well short of him. Now it comes out in front. Delic from the bottom of the circle throws it. Save made. Giampa with 2 whacks at it as Shostak was laying on the ice, but he could not direct it on goal, and it's guided to the neutral zone by the Huskies. Delic takes it and softly touches it in. Now it's thrown back the other way by the Huskies. And a whistle and a penalty behind the play on Miami. Delic's going to the box. We'll see what for. 2 minutes for roughing. So Delic, who chipped that in, the puck came back out to neutral ice, and then Delic was working against a player for St. Cloud, and those two must have had some extracurriculars, and Delic just threw a stick check or something. But that was right in the face of the referee that was standing in the corner. A lot of times behind the play, you don't realize that you're right in the shadow of the official when you do things like that away from the puck, and that was a pretty easy call. 1:16 to go in the second period. St. Cloud to the power play for the third time. They're 0 for 2.
Yeah, we talk about these penalties. Miami, over the last series against Western Michigan, 15 penalties for a total of 41 minutes. So definitely trying to avoid that penalty box is the name of the game.
Face-off win for Miami. A coin takes it, throws it off the glass all the way down the ice. Bradley Walker pressures and forces a cover there. So Walker came all the way in, and now some conversation between Jan Shostak and one of his defensemen, Cooper Wiley, on the way back, as those two just weren't on the same page, and that forced a cover. So 8 seconds gone by. Miami's going to have an offensive zone face-off on the penalty kill. Face-off win. Phelan with a shot. That's off shin pads. It deflects all the way back into Miami's end. That's honestly fine for the RedHawks, who skate back on it. We're under a minute to play in the period. Phelan just backs up and puts it the length of the ice. Hall to the far side for Tyson Gross. Skates it into the offensive zone. Gross buried in the corner. Throws it around to the near side for Ingram on the half wall. Up left point for Wiley. Side steps around a defender. Ingram in front. Backhand to the far side. A shot from the circle. It was open, but Brnovic shot it high. Now Ingram from the left point. Walks down the wall. Wiley fakes the one-timer center point. Back down half wall. Ingram left wing. Wiley from the point. Wrister gobbled up. It was blocked by Walker, but he fanned on the clearing attempt. St. Cloud tries to quickly play it in front, but Hall with stick check, and Wiley mishandles it along the point. And the puck trickles to neutral ice. Huskies get it back in quickly. Brnovic tries to drive. He drags, and it's poked away by a coin. It went down on all fours to sweep at the puck and knocked it away with 3 seconds, 2 and 1. Gross got tied up with Hay right in front of the St. Cloud bench. And the officials have to break some guys up as a lot of words are exchanged as the period comes to an end. Shots are 30-10 in favor of Miami. They've got 44 seconds of carryover kill time. Teams have not left the ice yet. I don't know if we're going to get any penalties potentially here. I don't think we are. But no, it looks like both teams just going to clear off, and that'll send us to the second intermission. So another decent enough period for Miami. They lose the lead, they gain it back, and this team hasn't had to deal with necessarily as many punches as we have seen them deal with in some of the earlier home series. You think to the Arizona State series, you think even to some of the earlier home series of the year. The first of the season against Ferris State, where Miami blew a couple leads and came back. They have pretty much been in control of this game from an effort perspective. But, again, just a one-goal hockey game, and kind of got a glimpse of what can happen when you take your foot off the gas.
Yeah, exactly. It's those little sloppy mistakes that really did not benefit Miami at all. Again, the shots are still 54-32, so you could still see the offensive production is still there. They just need to clean up their finishes and just ultimately play safe hockey for the rest of the period.
44 seconds left on the penalty to Coach Adelic. And again, Miami leads it 3-2 after 2 periods. Shots on goal in favor of the RedHawks at 30-10. And Miami will look to close out NCHC win number 2 on the year in the final 20 minutes on the other side. Again, we'll go to break. When we come back, Will Salzarulo has your Red Hawk Radio second intermission. That's on the other side, and this is Miami Hockey on Red Hawk Radio.
You're listening to Miami Hockey on Red Hawk Radio. I'm your host, Will Salzarulo, and this is your second intermission report. The goals for today, it's been a very close matchup so far. Miami is in the lead with 3-2. Here's how it happened. Miami called first in the second period at 2 minutes and 20 seconds in. Goal by Ethan Hay, assisted by Michael Felon. St. Cloud answered 3 minutes later by a goal by Barrett Hall and unassisted. Then shortly after, St. Cloud tied it by Grant Acoin. First goal of the season, he was assisted by Finn Lotus. Then finally, Miami retakes the lead, scored by Coach Adelic, his sixth goal of the year, assisted by Nicholas Mikan. It was an old school slap shot. It was a beautiful goal. There was some challenge from St. Cloud, but the goal stood. St. Cloud loses their timeout for the rest of the game. Now for penalties, pretty clean period. There was one penalty on Miami's Coach Adelic for roughing. That penalty will carry over into the third period for 44 seconds. Shots on net. Miami has shown that they have been dominant in this category. Miami with 28 and St. Cloud with 11. In conclusion, Miami is up 3-2. Miami has had the biggest student turnout I think I've seen since my time in Red Hawk Radio. Being a townie, but raised in Oxford almost all my life, this is the biggest crowd I've seen in almost 10 years. There was 2,000 student tickets sold, and keep in mind, there are 2,800 non-club seats here at Goggin, and with 3,600 seats in total. I haven't seen this in so long. Students are standing around the concourse with no room in the stadium to seat them. I'm so happy to see it being full. That has to do definitely with it being Greek night, with Miami being one of the biggest fraternity colleges in the entire United States. It's Greek night crossover with the local bar Brick Street, a huge turnout tonight. Miami has been doing pretty good, with Noreen saying they had to keep a clean game, only getting 2 penalties so far compared to St. Cloud's 4. Now that's about all time we have for today, but here's some other matchups in the NCHC. Western Michigan is at Omaha. Omaha leads it with 1 goal ahead. Other matchups, Denver is at Arizona State, Minnesota Duluth at Colorado College, and the U.S. under-18 team is playing an exhibition match against North Dakota. I have been Will Salzarulo, and this has been your second intermission report. In a few minutes, we're going to hand it over to Luke West Poley and Aiden Sonas to get your coverage of the third period of this great series. Now, you have been listening to Miami Hockey on Red Hawk Radio. I've been Will Salzarulo. Puck drop for the third period is about 8 minutes. You're listening to Miami Hockey on Red Hawk Radio.
Third period on deck here from Cady Arena with the score, Miami 3 and St. Cloud State 2. Alongside Aiden Sons, Poley with you, week before Thanksgiving. And everybody has shown out. Still a full house headed into the third here on Cradle of Coaches weekend. Rocky road in that second period for Miami. They get an early goal from Ethan Hay. It's reviewed, it's upheld as Jan Shostak backed into the net with the puck in his possession. And then St. Cloud answered. They forced a turnover with Miami's goaltender Mateo Drobak handling the puck below the goal line. And then promptly off a deflection in front, Grant Ashan cut across the front of the goal frame and scored to tie the game at 2. But Miami late got a goal from the man currently sitting in the box, Coach Adelic, to take the lead off an individual effort in the offensive zone following a steal on the forecheck. Adelic, though, took a roughing penalty behind the play late in the period, and that is why St. Cloud starts on the power play as we're underway. 35 seconds now remain on the penalty to Delic as it's dragged into the offensive zone by Barrett Hall. But the Redhawks pry it free, and it's rolled down the ice as the puck spins on edge towards the far side, Zamboni doors. Right back up the ice for Cooper Wiley and the Huskies with 18 seconds left on the minor penalty to Delic. Hall enters the offensive zone, tried to dangle through Lukashevich. He kicked it away, but St. Cloud holds the zone as Wiley kept the puck on the blue line. Gross walks in center point. Top of the right circle, Ingram surveys. Wiley walks it across. Right circle, a turnaround shot by Brnovic is gobbled up by Drobak, and it comes right as the penalty expires. And Delic is out of the box with 19:15 to go in the third. We skate 5 aside, and the Redhawks retain their lead as a face-off is coming up on the near side of St. Cloud's zone.
Although it's only been 45 seconds since this period has started, this might have been one of the most crucial 45 seconds. You have St. Cloud, who's #1 in the power play. They're all fresh, they all catch their breaths, and they all are doing their best effort trying to score a goal here. And great job on Miami's penalty kill, not allowing that goal, and let's see if we can now capitalize on this moment.
So kind of the fresh start to the third for Miami. Face-off win, though, by the Huskies, and Reiners plays it below the goal line. Puck slides all the way to the far side where it's picked up by Ilya Morozov. Full head of steam up the ice. He hands it for Giampa. Taps it along. Morozov spins it in front. Delic was there on the back door, but it missed him. And the puck deflects off the near boards and out to center ice. Delic tips it, but St. Cloud takes over. Thorson hands it off. Ernest steps to the backhand, twists it in front. But it was behind his trailing target as he was looking for Rode. And the Redhawks take it the other way. Giampa working 1 against 5. Just shovels it in behind the net as the Redhawks are in the midst of a change. Helgeson pressuring now for Miami. But the puck ends up freed to Gavin Thorson, who throws it down the ice. It's rolling, but McEwen gets to it at the bottom of the near circle, short of icing. Redhawks back up the ice. Tipped with an open stick face by David Deputy into the offensive zone. Puck hopped Deputy's stick as he was trying to intercept a clearing attempt on the far side. Miami banged it back in and might have tipped off of a Redhawk who was trying to escape the zone as the puck came back. So I think it's offside against the Redhawks there as they move the faceoff to center ice. 18-10 to go in the third period. Still a 1-goal Miami lead. Justin Stupka wins the faceoff for Miami. And it's directed into the offensive zone by Kasper Nassen. Bufflin skates down low to get it. Zinger's breakout pass intercepted, and the Redhawks pounce on the near wall. Grimes locked up along the boards. St. Cloud frees him of possession. Ryman throws it across for a shot. One of the goal scorers for the Huskies breaks up the left side, slams the brakes in the left circle of the offensive zone, and side spins it in deep. Puck rolls around to the near side, hashes against the boards. 2-on-3 battle. The numbers win for the Redhawks as it ends up behind the Miami net for Michael Phelan. Bouncing puck settled on the far side of the ice by Nassen. He got hit pretty good, but still sends it to an area in the near side for a coin to skate into it and dump in. Redhawks go for a change, and so Mikan tries to waste as much time as he can on the forecheck while the rest of the Redhawks get on the ice. And now St. Cloud plays it up the near side. Miettinen tips it into the offensive zone. Win around to the far side for the RedHawks and Ethan Hay. And he missed his target looking for Mikan on the half wall as Miami tried to break it out. It banks off the boards and all the way down for icing with 17:04 to go in the third period. 6:05 start tomorrow between each of these two teams. And then a break in NCHC play for Miami. They head to Belfast, going to Ireland next weekend over Thanksgiving. RedHawks will depart for Ireland on Sunday. Got the opportunity to play in the Friendship 4 tournament, which has been going on for around the last decade. RedHawks win the faceoff and are unable to clear. Bufflin dangles through Quinn, but couldn't skate it to the net front, and Miami gets out the lob wedge to send it high in the air towards the rafters to neutral ice. Puck slides through the ref crease on the near side. St. Cloud recovers back with it. Handed off on the far wall. Wiley was looking for Brnovic on the boards, but it passed him, and so Wiley chases it in deep to go get it himself. Smolinski trying to tuck that one in front of the net for St. Cloud, and he was pushed to the far side boards. Puck is locked beneath the goal line and now rolls to the far side where a battle ensues for it, and we've got a penalty coming up on the RedHawks as St. Cloud player lost a stick. That was Barrett Hall battling for the puck. I believe they're going to get Ethan Hay for a slash. Delayed call as St. Cloud is just sitting with it in the neutral zone. Extra skater on for the Huskies, who will get going on their fourth power play in a moment. But first, maybe trying to do something with the extra skater on. Reiners tried to hand it for Loftus just inside the blue line on the near side. It's touched up by Miami as a coin cut off the pass. And instead, it's Lukashevich that is called for the penalty. He goes for slashing, just knocked the stick out of Barrett Hall's hands in the puck battle in the opposite corner. 15:55 to go in the third period with Miami leading at 3-2. St. Cloud goes to their fourth power play of the night.
Yeah, again, this is the one thing Miami cannot let happen, these unnecessary penalties, especially with this St. Cloud Huskies team. Hopefully, Miami has the great penalty kill in order to kill this off.
RedHawks 3 for 3 so far. Second unit out to start for St. Cloud as their top unit had an extended shift just prior to the penalty. And Rosborough wins the faceoff for the Huskies. Gavin Thorson skating it around the net, but he lost possession. Miami gives it away, though, on the blue line. Dangle in front. Now Smolinski center point. Throws it from a sharp angle to the corner. Road back up, left point Smolinski. Right side Road. Skates it across. Center point shot. Hits something in front. May have been the blocker. A Droback may have been a RedHawk. It flies into the protective netting in the corner. 25 seconds gone by, and the penalty to Lukashevich. 15.5 to go in the third, and both teams make changes.
Yeah, I believe that was a blocker by Droback. A great job by him to see through all the people right in front of him. Manages to make sure the puck does not get in the net.
Face off to the right of Mateo Droback in the Miami goal. Donned in his all black. Miami wins the draw, but the wall is sealed as they tried to wrap it around the boards. Ingram put his back against the glass to knock the puck down. Battle along the boards ensues. It's won by St. Cloud. Shot from the top of the right circle by Brnovic is blocked from a couple feet away, and Miami clears it out. Nick Donato blocked it for the RedHawks. Double back into the neutral zone for St. Cloud with 1:05 to go on the penalty. Brnovic, right circle one-timer. Droback makes a kick save. Right point, Brnovic reverses ice to the far side. Ingram walks in. Wiley center point shot. Glove down by Droback, and he jumps on it to freeze with 51 seconds left in the penalty to Lukashevich. Starting to see Droback be tested more often on a power play, finally, for St. Cloud, who have had few and far between shots on man advantages to this point in the game. But Droback has come to play as he's made every save so far in the first minute 9 of this power play. Still a 3-2 Miami lead, 14:46 to go in the third period, and the face-off to Droback's right. Top power play line out there for St. Cloud. Tyson Gross loses the faceoff. A coin goes around the net, a collision in front as Drobak got run over and a penalty called against the Huskies. Drobak is fine, he just skates away. His teammates now come in to clear things out. That's a smart play though from a coin who took the puck, which was sitting next to the left post following the faceoffs. Guys are still jawing at each other and giving pushes and shoves, and skated behind the net. And just like you're taught, he used the net kind of as a screen. And because of that, the player working against him, that was Barrett Hall, skated across and just laid out Mateo Drobak. They're going to add some extra penalties. I think they're going to get one on each team, maybe, or maybe just one on St. Cloud. They've only put 2 guys in the box. They're both for the Huskies. The guaranteed penalty is to Barrett Hall, but they just put another Husky in the box in Ingram as part of those extracurriculars. Lukashevich is now in the box for Miami as well. Well, that's actually from the initial penalty. So this could actually completely reverse things if this stands up, as Miami could go from a penalty kill to a 4-on-3 power play if there is indeed only one penalty. That's it, 2 penalties, both on the Huskies. Wow, so they get Barrett Hall for they call him for charging. It's more of a goalie interference than anything, but a penalty is a penalty. Again, he was just riding on the back of Kyle LeCoyne, who went behind the net and trying to get an advantage. He hoped to cut across the center of the goal crease, but Mateo Drobak was right there and just got absolutely plowed. And because of that, Hall's called for the penalty, but then with the RedHawks coming in to defend their goaltender, there was some early pushing and shoving where nothing really happened too much. Referees broke it up quickly. Then there was kind of a secondary flurry, and at least according to the announcement, the only thing that's called is a roughing penalty against Ingram for St. Cloud. Anthony Noreen, though, looks a little bit puzzled on the Miami bench, and now it looks like they're going to pull a RedHawk. Yep, they're going to take Kyle LeCoyne. So that is going to offset the penalty to Adam Ingram. And again, kind of makes sense. Generally, in a shoving match like that, you take 1 each. And so it was very surprising that Ingram, it looked like, would be the only guy to go. Anthony Noreen doesn't like the call. But probably the right one. I think just more frustrated by the fact that there was a delay, and now Anthony Noreen is fine, and yeah, signaling that he just didn't hear the initial call to the referee, and that's why he was frustrated. So the penalties offset to Ingram and a coin. They are not put up on the board. They'll get out at the first whistle after 12:40. We'll skate 4 aside for the next 45 seconds before Lukashevich is out of the box, and then it's a power play for the next 1:15 for Miami, as the initial penalty still holds up against Barrett Hall. They dropped the puck and ran time off the clock, but it was a false start, so they're going to put that time back on. And Miami's going to try to get a little bit cheeky here and make a change. You cannot do that. RedHawks tried to bring on Max Helgeson for David Deputy. That is not an official stoppage, a false start. The clock should have never started, hence that was never a whistle. You cannot line change there. And so Helgeson is sent back to the bench, and Miami sends David Deputy in to take the draw. And it makes sense that the RedHawks wanted to make that change. They do not have a center on the ice. It's the second line of Smith and Deputy, but they're the 2 wings. And so Deputy, who serves as the right winger on that line, has to take the draw against Werner Miettinen. Are they going to put time on the clock? Haven't done it yet. Looks like they will. Referees are just kind of milling about on the ice. They actually have to take the penalty down for St. Cloud and put it back up.
Seems like a bit of confusion out on the ice. Those precious 3 seconds.
Well, technically, if they did that, okay, now they are taking the penalty off for Lukashevich. I was going to say that technically extended the power play because they took the St. Cloud penalty off and replaced it Now put Lukashevich's back on. They say only 44 seconds, though, not 45, which is what he initially had before the puck was dropped. They haven't put any more time on the actual game clock. Still reads 14:37. Again, 2 seconds ran off it. There should have been no time off the clock. And there should be no time off the penalties either, because there was a false start on the faceoff. All right, they've got it set up. Clock reset. Miami earns an extra second on the power play out of the deal. St. Cloud wins the faceoff, and we begin 4-on-4 for the next 44, not 45 seconds. St. Cloud enters the offensive zone. A dangle attempt's gone wrong for Bufflin. Miami almost broke that the other way for a 2-on-1, but Smith had it swept off his stick nicely by Zinger and Mietinen. Miami makes the change they wanted to earlier, bringing Helgeson onto the ice. Redhawks are content to just run this 4-on-4 out, and now Troy Thibodeau tells the Redhawks to go, and they oblige, dumping it into the offensive end with 11 seconds to go on the penalty. Smith skates it up to the right point, just skates it out to the neutral zone. Now enters back in. Smith driving right side, drags and shoots wide. Now a chance to break the other way for St. Cloud. It comes all the way into the near side corner. Lukashevic out of the box, though, kind of serving as the back checker. Smith just dove in and missed, and a wraparound out in front. St. Cloud scores. Smith went in for the body and just dove right into the boards. And Thorson just beat 3 Redhawks below the goal line to score shorthanded as he stepped out in front and backhanded it between the wickets of Drobak. A shorthanded goal to tie the game with 13:44 to go in the third.
Again, it's just those simple mistakes that Miami makes. It's this one mistake that costs them, 2 mistakes, sure, but now it's 3 mistakes. So here's the thing. We have 1 minute and 6 seconds left on the power play. This is the time to capitalize it and try not to go into overtime.
Goal by Thorson unassisted. It's his 2nd of the year and the 8th of the sophomore's career. And again, just stunned silence for Miami. They do get it back into the offensive zone and still on a power play for around the next minute. Delic on the left point for the Redhawks. Into the corner for Deputy. Back left point, Delic. Lukashevic on the right side. Into the circle for Morozov. Morozov skates to the top of the circle, backs to the hashes, threads it Delic center point. Deputy down low on the post, tried to tuck it up high, and he threw it right in to Shostak, and St. Cloud clears, and now Lukashevic has to hustle to prevent a breakaway by Gross, but he does get back there, pulls the escape move, and gets free. Didn't connect cleanly, though, with Delic. He threw it behind him, and that allows another St. Cloud clear, and that should pretty much do it for the power play with 12 seconds left on it. One final rush up the ice in the 5-on-4 for Miami. A saucer pass knocked out of the air by the Huskies, but kept alive in the zone for Miami. Hall out of the box. As we skate 5 aside again, St. Cloud comes out +1 on that penalty kill. They score shorthanded to tie the game. 12.5 to go, third period, it's 3-3. Center of the ice, Rogers had the puck stuck under his skate for a second, was getting hacked and whacked, kicked it to himself, but lost possession. Now Miami tips it through center ice. Stupka hustling after it, but out of his net. Shostak plays it to the far side. Dumped in by the Huskies. They go for a 4-man change. McEwen hands it off for Nick Donato, who just lifts it out past center. Zinger pulls it down, throws it through the middle. Rogers tips it in the center circle into the Miami end. Lukashevic gets his stick lifted, loses the puck. Wrapped back in below the goal line. Michael Quinn prodding at it for the Redhawks. Huskies come out with it. Backhand saucer play towards the goal line for Rogers. Didn't find him. And the Redhawks have it 2-on-2, and they clear up the near wall. Grimes leaves it for Stupka, working 1 against 2. Stupka curls, tried to throw it out in front. It was tipped in the high slot. And the puck rolls to the neutral zone. Mikan turns and twists it into the offensive zone for Miami. St. Cloud back on it, and a long rim pass finds Rode, who throws it all the way across to the far side blue line. Ryman brings it into the offensive zone for St. Cloud. Below the goal line, Ashan throws it across. That was knocked down in front by Mikan, who clears it out. He got his clock cleaned in the process. And now it's just shoveled back in by Rosborough. Light forecheck applied by Ashan. scored a goal in this game. RedHawks sent it the length of the ice, tipped by the Huskies in front of their own bench, no icing. Ashan tries to track it in his skate. He gives it away to Lukashevich, but he's dumped down to the ice in the referee's crease along the red line. And it's forked back in by Reiners as the Huskies change up all 5 guys on the ice. Delic pokes ahead across the center M, sauces it to the far side, and it hit off the skate of Giampa, which delayed the puck's entry into the zone, and Miami skates in offside as it's touched up by Morozov. Well, fans here a little bit stunned as Miami gives up a shorthanded goal. Gavin Thorson goes 1 against 3 to score and tie the game for St. Cloud, and we got a game here in the third period. 10:22 remaining in it, and we are tied from Oxford. You're listening to Miami Hockey on Red Hawk Radio. .10:22 to go in the third period. The score, Miami 3, St. Cloud State 3. Shorthanded goal by Gavin Thorson is even the game. And it is a whole new game as that timeout maybe favors the RedHawks a little bit. They play jump around, trying to get this crowd as a factor once again. They've been buzzing all night, even despite a lost 2-0 lead by Miami in the second period. The RedHawks promptly jump back in front. But just kind of a stunning shorthanded goal just on an effort play where Miami got outworked below their own goal line. Has tied the game at 3. And now the RedHawks find themselves back even. Top line out there for Miami, Giampa, Delic, Morozov. They were out there prior to the timeout. Morozov gets tossed from the draw. They're against the top line for St. Cloud State, Bernovic, Gross, and Hall. Hall, the goal scorer tonight. 2 of the 3 goals for the Huskies unassisted. Only assist for St. Cloud in the game to Finn Loftus. Huskies dump it into the offensive end. Miami breaks it out, though, quickly. Giampa skates it up the right side. Reinforcements arrive. Giampa tried to sauce it down low for a coin as Miami entered the offensive zone, but that pass intercepted by Cooper Wiley. Below the goal line for the Huskies, it's worked all the way out of the zone by Bernovic. Past 2 RedHawks who tried to push him off the puck. And he guides it into the O zone, where again Miami breaks out with pace. Morozov down the right side. Dances through traffic. Morozov flicks one on net from a sharp angle, and that's easily sticked aside by Shostak. RedHawks still applying the forecheck. Lukashevich pinches in, trying to seal the wall, and does along the near hashes. Puck battle for it. Near side, 9.5 to go, tied at 3. Lukashevich in there for Miami. Bernovic pushing away at it for St. Cloud. Finally, the puck freed up. It ends up behind the Husky net for Wiley, who chips it out to center ice. RedHawks poke it back St. Cloud's way as both teams get set. Miami changes up. Deflected puck into the RedHawk end. Drobak plays it behind the net. Deputy down the right side with speed. Steps to the middle of the ice. Enters the zone. Deputy lost it. Rogers poked it away. And the RedHawks recover it. Smith with a long feed ahead, chipped through the middle. Helgeson was breaking, but the feet a little too far in front of him, and instead Helgeson goes in on the forecheck, takes a hard tumble into the wall, bounces right back up. St. Cloud State with it up the ice. Reiners through the middle for Rogers. He got smoked. Loftus, meanwhile, skates it through, dances past one RedHawk and another, but he lost the puck in the process. Off a nice dangle from St. Cloud D-man, who again has their only assist in this game. 2 of the 3 goals off of turnovers in the offensive zone for the Huskies. Puck in the St. Cloud end. Trouble with it clearing with virtually no pressure. It's brought just outside the zone. Stupka was walking the blue line, and a coin was offside as his momentum carried him in. Miami had numbers there as they were working from the left to right wings. But a stoppage with 8:08 to go in the third period. Shots heavily favoring Miami. 29-16, but we're tied at 3.
One thing I want to highlight is Miami, one note I had during this Western Michigan series is they needed to improve their transition play. And what I saw right now with Mateo Giampa in his breakout game, I really like to see how he knocks the puck loose from the defender in order to get a breakaway. Great job on his part.
Face off on the far side of the ice. Puck is dropped, it's jammed, it's picked up by Miami. And it is shoveled into the offensive end by Casper Nasson, but quickly ripped around the near side boards back out. Singer threads a pass through the middle of the ice. It's gloved down by the RedHawks. And now Nasson into the offensive zone. The big man got hit, lost possession. Miami trying to forecheck, but it is chipped high in the air where St. Cloud had it for a moment. Now a takeaway. RedHawks in. On the left wing, it's Phelan. Shot through traffic. Grimes looking for a tip. It's snapped up with the glove by Shostak. Grimes made the goalie hear some footsteps, but Shostak did not let that puck go, and he freezes it with 7:34 remaining in the third period. Both teams make changes. Shostak has the puck in his catcher glove, and the faceoff will be to his left. Rather to his right. They flip sides, and Miami brings out the top line again. Giampa, Morozov, Delic. They are getting heavily rotated on for the RedHawks. Face-off win for Miami. Giampa top of the circle to the right point for Quinn. He plays it into the corner for Delic. Turnaround shot glances off the top of the pad for Shostak, and it's cleared away. Knocked down by Michael Quinn. He almost laid a hit from behind, but smartly did pull up in the neutral zone. That allows St. Cloud to get it into the Miami end, albeit just barely, and the RedHawks lift it out. Arm in the air, the linesman. Icing is waved as Wiley goes back on it, just pins it up against the Zamboni doors. Morozov thumps him, but now Wiley just throws the puck along the boards, but not out. Donato with a shot through traffic. That hit Morozov in front. Did not get to the goal. And it's cleared out by the Huskies as Rosborough takes it the rest of the way in past center and goes off for a change. Under 7 to play. Delic reaches out to touch that puck fluttering through the middle of the ice. Trying to get it all the way in, but could not. St. Cloud, meanwhile, does get it all the way into Miami's end. And Gross tried to play it up the wall for Reiners, but it got past him. RedHawks chipped it for a potential 2-on-1, but Helgeson didn't hit Delic cleanly. And St. Cloud doubles back with it. Bouncing puck settled at the blue line dangerously by Smith as he had Bernovic hot on his heels. But the RedHawks do hold on to it. Smith just outside the blue line. One touches it through center for Helgeson, who throws it on goal from the bottom of the center ice circle. It hits Shostak in the St. Cloud logo on his chest, and he holds on with 6:10 to go in the third period. Nervy moments inside Cady Arena as we've reached the final media timeout of regulation time. 6:10 to go in the third period with the score Miami 3 and St. Cloud State 3. You're listening to Miami Hockey on Red Hawk Radio. 6:10 remaining, third period. St. Cloud State with the only goal of the period. It came shorthanded by Gavin Thorson. They've tied the game. Offensive zone draw coming up for the RedHawks. Miami has used a lot of the top line of late. Delic, Morozov, and Gialpa. They put out the second line coming out of the timeout. Deep pair of Acoin and Phelan with Smith, Helgeson, and David Deputy. Face off on the near side of the ice is controlled by the Huskies. Loftus can't clear it. Puck spun out in front of the net where Deputy couldn't settle it for a shot from between the dots. Poked out to center. Miami gathers possession. Helgeson hands it off. Smith in the circle, chips it in front. Helgeson threw it off a deflected play in front. Deputy scores! Shostak was just flailing all around the net. Helgeson tried to wrap it around for a deflection in front, just trying to cause chaos. Puck deflected away, but with Shostak falling over onto his backside, Deputy just grabbed it with his back turned to the net, spun around, threw it on goal, hit the top part of the cage, and Miami's jumped back in front. With 5:50 remaining in the third period, it's the first career goal for David Deputy, who missed some time early in his freshman year with injury. And Deputy pulls the RedHawks back in front and livens this place back up with 5:50 to play. Center ice draw comes all the way back on goal, where it's stick to the far side for St. Cloud State by Jan Shostak. And as they try to go up the ice, puck tipped into their net, into their bench rather, and that stops play with 5:42 remaining. Deputy from Helgeson at 14-10. Third assist of the year for the senior from Anchorage. And the transfer from Anchorage, Max Helgeson. And David Deputy, who had a fantastic year in the USHL last season, has his first goal as a collegiate. Miami fires it into the offensive end. Lukasiewicz on the left point. Tip puck, they score! Kasper Nassen in the left circle, directed it over the right shoulder of Jan Shostak, and the RedHawks make it 2. In just 19 seconds, Miami has grown their lead. It's 5-3.
Chaos, that's a great way to put these last two goals. First goal has Shostak going in every which direction, trying to figure out where the puck is, not only just trying to find where it is just to save it, but this second goal too, what a beautiful tip out front for Miami's 5-3 game-winning, hopefully, goal.
They initially give the goal to Lukasiewicz. That will likely be changed as the RedHawks are right back to it offensively. No relent. They've got the top line out there and they're forechecking. St. Cloud tries to break it the other way with speed. Rose to the far side. Rosborough from a sharp angle threw it on. It hit off the backside of the cage. Drobak was a little bit off balance, but no harm, no foul. Puck came out and was tipped back in for St. Cloud. Touched up offside by Rosborough. And some extracurriculars in what's been a chippy game overall. Not necessarily in terms of how it's been played. It's been physical, but nothing too crazy during the game. But a lot of stuff after the whistle. They're going to take one guy from each team here. McEwen goes for Miami. And Nolan Rode goes for St. Cloud with the extracurriculars. And I believe they're going to go 4-on-4 here. They are. So that actually, with a lead, is not what you want if you're Miami, as that opens up space for potentially more offense. But this crowd is back alive, as the RedHawks do have some insurance finally for the first time since it was 2-0. Roughing penalties against Rode and McEwen, and we skate 4 aside for the next 2 minutes. Miami leading 5-3 as we move under 5 minutes to go. Wiley skates it in the neutral zone, circles back to his own end for St. Cloud. Plays catch with Reiners. Wiley steps diagonally left across the center ice end. Goalie leaving for St. Cloud. Helgeson stole it in the neutral zone and slapped it all the way down the ice high. And it's icing with 4:42 to go. Wow, that was almost a nightmare flashing before the eyes for St. Cloud State, as Shostak wasn't even at the bench yet when that puck got to the goal, but Helgeson shot it high, and it's icing against Miami with 4:42 remaining in the third. I think Helgeson thought that his team was on the kill there, but since it's even strength, the icing still called. 1:39 left in the 4-on-4. Ozone draw for St. Cloud. They keep the goalie out. It's 5-on-4. Wiley center point. Now Brnovic. One-timer in front by Hall. They score. Tipped on the back door, and the Huskies have answered with 4:32 to play. Another twist that this game provides. It's Tyson Gross, the Husky captain and top line center with the backdoor deflection. His 5th of the year makes it 5-4.
Yeah, you just got to look out for that man advantage for that St. Cloud State Huskies team. It is just a deadly play to have one man up against the RedHawks.
They put the goalie back in for now, but that buys Brent Larson some time. Now he can probably run out the rest of this 4-on-4 at least, and maybe another minute just playing at even strength with the goalie in before he elects to pull one more time. The goal by Gross, assists to Hall and Brnovic. There goes the goalie again. Wow, an uber aggressive move for St. Cloud as they have it in the offensive zone, and they send a deflected shot up high as Cooper Wiley's shot was tipped into the protective netting. Wow, that is super aggressive from Brent Larson. Down a goalie, pulls his goalie. 4-on-4 for the next minute 10. There's 4 minutes and 13 seconds left in the game, and the Huskies now have it 5-on-4 with the goalie out. Face-off win for Miami. Hold up. Another false start. So they reset. Top line still out there for the Huskies, and they win the draw. Ingram. Right point, Brnovic. Center point, Wiley. Tipped shot wide. On the left side boards. Miami going after it. It's freed up for Delic. He drags around one. Delic skating it free across the center red. Diving stick check to direct it to the far side boards for St. Cloud. Miami's got 2 guys up the ice. Numbers the other way for the Huskies. Gross in on the left wing. Hits the brakes. Throws it across. Brnovic, one-timer turned aside by Drobak. Gross to the far half wall for Ingram. Fanned on the initial pass, now makes it to Wiley's center point. 30 seconds left, 5-on-4 with the empty net. One-timer by Brnovic, gobbled up by a coin. Puck is lifted out by Miami, shot down the ice by Delic. It's wide. Wiley heads down to go touch it up for icing. 21 seconds remaining in the 4-on-4. And Brent Larson's gonna put his goalie back in here. Interesting, so he puts him back. Again, St. Cloud does not have a timeout. If you think way back to the first period, they challenged a play that they lost, but the teams are gathering at their benches. What do we have here? It's a timeout. Timeout called by Miami here. So St. Cloud was ready to play that out, sending the goalie back into the net, but Anthony Noreen must have just not liked the look his team has had working 4 against 5 with the empty net and elected to call the timeout. 3:24 remaining in the third period. 21 seconds left of 4-on-4 time before McEwen is out along with Nolan Road. And then we'll have about 3 minutes of even strength barring any further penalties. Miami leads St. Cloud by a goal at 5-4. RedHawks led 2-0. Miami led 3-2. RedHawks led 5-3. St. Cloud team that really has been dominated for big stretches of the game. Credit to them, have showed up in some important spots to score some big goals. Huskies, who had just 3 shots on goal in the first period and just 18 for the game, have taken advantage when opportunities knocked to score 4 goals on just 18 shots.
Yeah, and this is where the face-off is the most crucial out of any part of this game. Just maintaining puck possession to get that empty net is crucial if Miami wants to land with a win.
Brett Larson comes out of the timeout with his goalie in net, so it's just 4-on-4 with 3:24 to play. Almost all of this 4-on-4 has been spent with St. Cloud's goalie out even after they scored the goal to cut it to 1. Miami wins the face-off. RedHawks killing time. RedHawks treating this as if it is a kill, even though it's even strength, and St. Cloud's not really pressuring them. Now puck threaded through the middle of the ice. Ethan Hay trying to kick it to himself. He's stripped of possession by Thorson. Thorson walks into the offensive zone, drags past one, shoots and scores. Another individual effort from Gavin Thorson. He dangles through, scores right as the 4-on-4 comes to an end, and St. Cloud State has tied it again with 3:02 remaining. What a game for Gavin Thorson, who came in with just 1 goal on the year. He's got 2 tonight, and they have been 2 absolute huge goals for the Huskies when they've needed it most, and he's had absolutely no help in scoring either of them. Did them both by himself, and we are tied as the silence has fallen over again through this arena. Skating 5-on-5, RedHawks send it the length of the ice. Icing is waved as the Huskies chase back on it. Up the left side, Gross stripped of possession. Trying to skate to it first. Smith beats him to it, though, in the far side corner. Quinn takes it out, lobs it to center ice. Wiley knocks it down. Huskies can't touch this. They have to, though, and do, as it's a hand pass. And so that backs St. Cloud up. 2:30 remaining third period. The goal to Thorson unassisted again for the Huskies. 5 goals, 3 of them completely unassisted for St. Cloud tonight. Referees meet here about the location of this face-off. This should go into the zone, and it does.
It's crazy to think about. For St. Cloud State, 9 shots on goal this period, and 3 of which led to a goal.
Again, Huskies have just been opportunistic. 2:30 remaining. Face-off in the Husky defensive zone on the far side of the ice. Top line out for Miami. Morozov loses the draw, and the Huskies skate it out to center. Grant a shot. Skates it in, drags and shoots wide. Phelan grabs it behind the net for Miami and lobs it up the far wall. And a turnaround one-time shot from there is nowhere close for Miettinen. It's into the screen. Miami, on the other side of this, has found a way to score the next goal when this has happened. And will they have it in the cards is the question. Can somebody have it before regulation comes to an end? Nolan Road gets tossed from the draw. It's on the far side of the ice in St. Cloud's offensive zone. Noah Ernest, the freshman, comes in. This line, 2 freshmen and a sophomore, and the right winger on it is Gavin Thorson, who scored 2 goals tonight. RedHawks send a bouncing puck down the ice. Giampa got tossed as he was trying to go after it. Miami wanted a call, they didn't get it, but St. Cloud just takes it and throws it out of the rink under virtually no pressure in their own end. And so that backs the Huskies up into their own zone. They wanted to make a change, and they can't because that puck was not deflected. So in college, again, that's not a penalty, but it's the same as the icing rule. You can't change if the puck is undeflected on its way out of the rink. So with 2:07 to go in the third, a tie hockey game. Offensive zone draw for Miami's second line. Face-off win by the RedHawks. Shot intentionally wide from the right point by Michael Quinn. Helgeson pulls it free. Lukashevich from the left point throws it wide. It's pumped back in deep as Helgeson tips it in front. That is redirected to the sidewall for St. Cloud, and they go glassing out to clear to center. 2-on-2 up ahead for the Huskies. Thorson turns around and fires it in. St. Cloud's got to tag up. They're also changing with 1:37 to play. Quinn surveys the ice. D to Lukashevich on the near side. Smith tips it just past the center red, but doesn't get all the way in. Smolinski goes D to D, and now St. Cloud tips it into the Miami end. Lukashevich around it. Off the glass, out, down. Not slowing down, and it goes for icing with 1:15 to play in the third. And for Miami, they've got one tired body out there in Vlad Lukashevich, who's been out there a while. RedHawks did get a change for the other 4 guys on the ice, but a double shift for Miami's left defenseman with 1:15 to play in the third period. Face-off win. Bernovic with a shot. It goes wide. Not sure if there was a clean look at it for Droback as he reacted a little late, but luckily it was not on goal for Miami. 1:06 remaining. RedHawks take possession and skate it out to neutral ice. Ryan Smith gets smashed along the far wall. Hay onto it, threw it towards the high slot, and that was taken away by Hall. He got checked by Kyle Aucoin, who lost a stick in the process. Aucoin goes off to change as Miami throws it back in. Overhead pass, couldn't find Gross. Nasson snaps it out of the air and sets it on his stick. Nasson skates it across the center M and dumps it in. Nasson skating in, tries to get body position, but numbers there for St. Cloud, and they win possession. Now the RedHawks supply more forecheck and kind of a turnaround try to slap it on goal for Doug Grimes. Did not go, and the Huskies clear to the Miami end. No, RedHawks know where it is. 22 seconds remaining as it's dumped in deep. Ashan in the far corner has possession for St. Cloud. He's locked up by Michael Phelan. 13 seconds remain as the puck is poked below the goal line. Now Phelan grabs it, sends it off the far wall, and the RedHawks break out. 6 seconds remaining. It's sent back the way of Miami's D. Phelan puts it through center, and that will run the rest of the time on regulation. Well, a brutal way to end regulation for Miami is on an extended 4-on-4. Brett Larson rolls the dice, and it pays off in a massive way. An early goalie pull gets him a goal to get the Huskies within 1, and then he makes the chest move to put the goalie back in after spending some time with it out. And left the goalie out following the goal. Put the goalie back in following Miami's timeout. And an equalizer from Gavin Thorson sends us to overtime. So 5-5 the score at the end of regulation. And now the teams will play 5 minutes of 3-on-3. And for the RedHawks, this is a big 3-on-3 overtime because you feel like you had this game in your hands. And for NPI purposes, if you do not get this done, if either team does not get this done in the next 5 minutes of sudden death, it's considered a tie in the books. And the shootout would only be played for the purposes of the extra point in the NCHC standings. Miami in years past of late had been dreadful in overtime. The RedHawks broke a long losing streak in the extra period early this season on October 24th with an OT win over Lindenwood. Turned out they would need overtime again the next night. The RedHawks would also win it the next night as well. 5-4 scores both nights. The RedHawks beat Lindenwood for St. Cloud State. Their last conference game was an overtime loss to Minnesota Duluth. They are 0-2 in overtime this year. Also lost the first game of their home series to Vermont, 2-1 in the extra period.
For a lot of these people, especially with the RedHawks, you know, we have a lot of new transfers coming to the RedHawks squad. This might be their first ever NCHC overtime game. So let's see how well they handle it.
Ilya Morozov scored the winner on Friday night for Miami. Ryan Smith finished off a hat trick in overtime on Saturday night in the Lindenwood series. Those are the two guys with overtime goals. For the RedHawks, they start with Hay as the centerman, Delic on the wing, and Lukashevich as the D-man. For St. Cloud State, Tyson Gross takes the draw. He's with Barrett Hall, and the D-man is Cooper Wiley. Three guys with letters out there for the Huskies. Linesman instructs both centers to step it back. RedHawks go left to right, Huskies right to left in overtime. Important face-off win for Miami to start. And Ethan Hay goes right off. That was his job as Miami brings on Ilya Morozov. Delic hands it back for Lukashevich. He skates across the center M, curls back towards his own end. Again, Morozov, one of Miami's 2 goal scorers in overtime this year. Morozov skates it in. The young Russian hits the brakes, top of the right circle, gets it away, and now a 2-on-1 as Lukashevich plays it in front. Delic tried to kick it to his skate, but he could not do so, and the puck ended up in the corner. Sent back up the wall where Morozov exits the offensive zone and pulls it back for Miami. Delic wanted a lead pass, instead Miami pulls back. St. Cloud makes the first change. They bring on Nolan Rode for Tyson Gross. Now Miami changes and they bring on Mateo Giampa, and he gets the handoff and circles back behind his own net. Giampa, area pass up the near side. Oh, he gave it away. Brnovic tried to throw it in front. That wouldn't go, and now a 2-on-1 developing the other direction for Miami. Giampa with Deputy, down the right wing. Giampa shoots, he scores! Mateo Giampa in overtime, and Miami survives a furious road comeback bid from St. Cloud State. The Huskies did everything they could to force overtime, but the RedHawks win it 6-5. St. Cloud State, I believe, is going to challenge this. But the RedHawks, for the moment, have the win. Miami's coaching staff has not exited the bench. Now St. Cloud is leaving the bench. St. Cloud used up their first challenge. You could challenge technically a second time. It would be a penalty, though, if you got it wrong. In this case, if you got it wrong, the game is over. But the referee crew decides that it's game over and no challenge on the play. And Mateo Giampa wins it for Miami in overtime. The RedHawks are now 3-0 in the extra period this year. They have exercised their sudden death demons, and Miami picks up their second NCHC win of the year at 6-5.
Mateo Giampa going from almost giving up a breakaway that could have led to a goal for the Huskies to just driving down by himself, leading to his first ever, I believe, overtime goal for these RedHawks. So what a win if you are a RedHawks fan.
30th career goal for Giampa, a guy that was brought in from Canisius for his goal-scoring ability. And score a goal he did for Miami. They get 6 goals from 6 different goal scorers tonight. And the RedHawks win it in overtime, 6-5 over St. Cloud. Crucial to bring this sellout crowd home happy after all sorts of turmoil, twists and turns in the third. And the RedHawks victorious here tonight as they pick up their second NCHC win of the year. Well, we'll hear from Anthony Noreen in the press conference in a little bit. That can be found on the Miami RedHawks YouTube. I doubt he's going to be very pleased with his team's full body of work tonight. They made a lot of mistakes, especially on the defensive side of the puck, and it very close to cost them, but they made up for that with one of their most dominant efforts offensively of the year. They put up 6 goals. This game was absolutely crazy from the start. It felt like they channeled the energy of that crowd. So the RedHawks take game 1, and again, there will be a second game coming up tomorrow night to wrap up the weekend series between these two teams, Miami and St. Cloud. It is an earlier start. Remember, again, change on Saturday nights this season for Miami. Coverage begins tomorrow at 5:35 Eastern Time, 6:05 puck drop for Miami and St. Cloud State on night 2. We'll take a break, and when we come back, Will Salzarulo has a Red Hawk Radio post-game. Take a look at a whole lot that unfolded in this one and preview tomorrow on the other side of the break. Coming up next. So for my partner, Aiden Sones, Luke West Poley signing off. And again, tune in tomorrow, 5:35 pregame, 6:05 puck drop between Miami and St. Cloud State. Thanks for tuning into this presentation of Miami Hockey on Red Hawk Radio.
You're listening to Miami Hockey on Red Hawk Radio. And I'm Will Salzarulo. This is the final record, if you will, of this matchup. Miami wins it in overtime, breaking the 6-game losing streak against St. Cloud. This is the first time they've beat St. Cloud since 2022. Now, since it went into overtime, I'm going to go through both the third period and overtime as well. So for the third period, Gavin Thorson of St. Cloud shorthandedly gets a goal and ties it for 3 to 4. He was unassisted on a shorthanded goal. David Deputy breaks it from Miami, breaks the tie-up, assisted by Max Helgeson. 19 seconds later, Vladislav Lukashevich at even strength gets it up to 5. But then St. Cloud strikes again with a goal tipped in by Tyson Gross, assisted by Barrett Hall and Austin Bernavec. And then finally, to lead it to overtime, Gavin Thorson ties it again, and that leads to overtime. Now, for overtime, Mateo Giampa breaks sudden death. He gets the win for Miami. A great shot, a great sight for the home crowd, which I have been informed has been sold out for the first time in God knows when. Goggin Ice Arena has been sold out. And right now, Miami is 3-0 when it comes to overtime wins. Penalties in the third period. Vladislav Lukashevich of Miami for slashing. There's a big shoving match between St. Cloud and Miami. Barrett Hall and Adam Ingram for roughing. Barrett Hall, Adam Ingram for roughing for St. Cloud, and Kyle Acoin for roughing as well. Shots on net. They wiped the screen, so I don't have that information right now. I'll check in a little bit. But here's the overview of what happened. Miami takes the early lead in the first period, getting the first period 1-0. Miami, once again, is ahead 3-2. Then finally, going out of the third, it is 5-5, with Miami winning it in overtime with 6-5. Miami's record is now 8-3-0 and 2-3 in conference. St. Cloud is 6-7 and 0 in conference 1-4. This has been an incredible game, a great game for the home crowd, which is the largest I've seen in almost 10 years. A sold-out game. A lot of energy coming from both sides. A good, quick game. I'm sure Anthony Noreen is going to have a few words to say on Miami's less than stellar performance. Even though they got the win, it was less than stellar. I felt like in the early they dominated, but as the game went on, they kept on letting St. Cloud score more and more. Now, this has been the end of Game 1 of the St. Cloud Miami series. You're listening to Red Hawk Radio. For Luke West Poley and Aiden Sonas, I'm Will Salzarulo signing off. This has been Miami Hockey on Red Hawk Radio. Thank you for listening.